Green Cooling scores with the 13 Pro-Am Community Rugby League Show.
Hello, it's Wednesday evening, it's Dave Parkinson, it's Steve Beech, it's the 13 Pro-Am Community Rugby League Show. We're back for another episode. And Steve, what a first week in National Conference League we saw.
Yeah, some absolutely superb certain results that have come through, and the game that we were at was a really, really good game, considering that the weather over the weekend has been a bit on the poor side, and I'm using that word very, very lightly.
Yeah, you did choose your words very, very closely there, to be honest. So we've got a cracking show to bring you. So obviously we'll bring you up to speed with everything that happened over at Crosfields. We've got a nice, what do we call it? Potpourri of
and a plethora.
And a plethora of comments and from our commentary over there as they took on Skirlaugh. We've got post-match interviews as well to bring you from Rob Campbell, the coach, and Elliot Liku, who is playing once more for Crosfields this season. We're also going to be delving into the Northwest Men's League. We'll concentrate on that just coming up. We've got a fantastic interview with Dave Crow. So he's the chairman of Heysham Atoms. They've got a great story to tell. I'm probably one of hard-fought grit and determination of keeping going, in an area that's not particularly renowned for its sporting excellence, is it? But for Heysham, they've got plans afoot to really develop. We'll also be talking about our game that we've got coming up at the weekend. And I'm happy to say that from the National Conference League, we've managed to speak to a player from each of the divisions this week. And now it does help because of my involvement with England Community Lions.
Don't spoil the magic, Parky.
I know, but I can't help it. I've got to mention it, haven't I? So it was the launch event, really. For the hopefuls that all met up at Pilkington Rex on Sunday. So 27 lads there's going to train together over the next few weeks. That squad is going to be cut a little bit later on in the season to 22, 21 players. Those guys will head down to Western Australia come the season's end. Ian, you know what I found out?
Go on. Western
Australia, right? Last season were coached by a former Leigh coach. So I know the guy, if he's still there.
I don't believe this. I don't know.
It's such a small world, isn't it?
I can hear people shouting fix now as well.
So I'm seriously hoping that it's going to be, the same guy. But got to say thank you very much to Pilkington Rex for accommodating the squad. It was great as well because we also had like an anti-doping workshop. And Steve McCormack led on player welfare and was talking about, how recent England squads in the pro game have had like books which they've been able to fill in, with the thoughts and feelings when people's been away from the families and stuff like that. So that is going to be brought to the Community Lions as well. So it's just... it's a lot of the stuff that was brought in over the last couple of years, and it's nice to see it being repeated, and hopefully, it'll mean that it'll filter through to our community clubs as well. So we're also going to be hearing from Danny Rouse from Hunslet ARLFC, from Joel Gibson, Thornhill Trojans. He was in a place... where he was virtually...
Did he go home? That's what I want to know.
He did go home, yeah, but he was peerless the day before. And we'll also hear from Kieran Prescott from Leigh East as well, who also had a resounding start to the season. But I want to start us off, first of all, by looking forward to the Northwest Men's League here, Steve. So... shall we talk a little bit about the league structure this year? What have we got? What can we expect?
Yeah, league structure-wise, if you remember rightly, at the end of last season, there was a couple of teams lower down in Division 4 that were doing really, really well. And I expected them to be maybe go up a couple of divisions, because they were playing rugby to that standard, I felt, but that hasn't happened. There are 5 divisions, there are 6 divisions. The 5 which are you could class as the competitive ones, which go from the Premiership all the way down to Division 4. And then there is something called the entry division, which is mainly made up of new teams and A teams, and we'll go through them at the end. But to start off, we'll go through the from the Prem down to Division 4. Obviously, we've got Ashton Burrs, who are still in there, Blackbrook from last season, Fawley Lane, Alton Farmers Hornets, Erskfinch, who obviously did very well last year, Isham Atoms, who we will be talking to a little bit later on, and as you said, Parky, having listened to that interview a little bit earlier on, I've got to say, a lot of things in there that I didn't realise, and it's a very interesting story. Laxford Albion are there, Oddle St James, obviously champions from last year, Shevington Sharks, and Wigan Springview. Moving down into Division 1, we've got Burton Wood Bridge, who were promoted from Division 2. Chorley Panthers, Dalton are there. Goulburn Parkside, another team that came up from Division 2. Hindley, Salford City Roosters, Thatterweath Crusaders A, Ulverston, West Orton Lions, and Wigan St Cuthberts. That is Division 1. Into Division 2, we've got Ashton Burrs A, Hinepool Tigers, Leigh Miners Rangers A, Newton Storm, Rochdale Mayfield A, Roost Pioneers, Walney Central, Waterhead Warriors A, and West Bank Burrs. Down into Division 3, Banky Bulls, who are one of the ones who I thought might have jumped up a couple of divisions. Well, they're in Division 3 with Blackpool Scorpions, Caddishead Rhinos, Clotface Miners A, Garswood Stags, Higginshaw, Lee East A, Oldham St Anne's A, Runcorn Ifield, who were one of the promoted teams from Division 4, Wigan St Jude's. And down into Division 4, we've got Bolton Oral FC, Chester Gladiators, Culture Eagles, and I'm really made up to see this name back in the Open Age Rugby world. Haydock are back in there, and they made their appearance in Division 4. Then we've got Langworthy Reds, Liverpool Lizards, Oral St James A, and yet another team, which is great to see, because I know we've had some dealings with this club over a few years, and the story is very similar to a couple of stories that are going to be told a little bit later on, but that's Portico Vine. Great to see them there. And just finishing things off there in Division 4, West Horton Lions A. Then we've got the entry division, Burton Wood Bridge A, Chorley Panthers A, Crosfields A, Fawley Lane A, Garswood Stag Reserves, Erskfinch A, Hindley A, Ince-Rose Bridge A. It does say Limehurst Lions, but that's to be confirmed. I'm not 100% on that.
Okay.
Pilks Rex A, Preston and South Ribble Rabbitohs, Widnes St Mary's.
Glad to see them back,
Yeah.
Preston and South Ribble Rabbitohs, because they pulled out of the league, didn't they,
That's
last
right,
year?
yeah. But I mean, it's good that they've not folded altogether. And I think this division, looking at it, is great for clubs that may be struggling in some way, shape or form. There's some, going to be some competitive games there. As I said, Widnes St Mary's is another one that it's great to see them.
Oh, that's fantastic to see a Widnes club in there as well.
Wigan Springview A, and bringing the entry division to a close, alphabetically I must add, is Woolston Rovers A.
Yeah. Disappointing for a couple of those in particular. I know certainly Crossfields and Woolston. If we're out, I mean, we're outsiders looking in, aren't we? So we don't see fully what's going on at these clubs. And I know that they've both fallen on harder times with players being able to commit regularly, and this is probably why they're playing in that competition. But I don't know, for me that's just a little bit disappointing with how well certainly over recent years, both of those clubs have done within the relative leagues. So, yeah, for me, that's but sometimes you've got to take a little step backwards to move forward again, haven't you? You know, so there's there's some contrasting stories, I think, amongst that. Talking about contrasting stories, it seems like a good time to come to our first interview. So a little bit earlier in the week, I caught up with Dave Crowe. He's the chairman of Heysham Atoms. Fascinating story that they've got over at Heysham. Things, they are a-changing, to paraphrase a certain Bob Dylan song. Let's hear from Dave right now.
Green cooling keeps the 13 Pro-Am Community Rugby League show cool, even when tackles get heated.
We always like to do a club in focus, and this week I'm delighted to be joined by Heysham Atoms chairman Dave Crowe. How are you doing, Dave? You all right, mate?
Yeah, very good, thanks, pal. Yeah, really good. Cheers.
Been looking forward to this because obviously we caught up round about the COVID times, and I know we shared a number of a number of messages about how things were going, and you was hoping that the club would be able to kick on after that period. How's this last sort of couple of years been?
It's been, well, we had to leave our spiritual home where we sort of grew up since 1986, 87, due to the demand of the kids, really, and we grew out of space there. So last couple of years, we went to the local rugby union club and shared their facilities, but didn't really work. Didn't work for us. Not very cost effective for us. And just recently now, we've managed to secure a 25-year lease with the local council to share with a football pitch, and we're currently building and developing there, really. So it's very exciting times for us. We moved back to our home of Heysham, away from Lancaster and away from Morecambe. So it feels like we've come home and we've got something special to build at the moment.
So how long was you away from Heysham for?
Well, it originated, the team originated from the power station, so that got this name from the Heysham power station. So there was a lot of lads in the early 80s came across from working from Manchester and Cumbria and Yorkshire, and they came to work at the power station, got a bit bored, put a rugby union side together, and that developed into rugby league side, in playing friendlies in 85 and 86. Because we were based at the Heysham power station and they were sponsored by them, they called themselves Heysham Atoms, and that's where it come from. That's where the name came from. Originally, we're always based at a ground in Morecambe. Went back to a local pub called the Smuggler's Den, sponsored by them. And then we eventually, when we left the Smugglers, we stayed at the local ground, which was Trimple FC. Mm-hmm. And that's where we stayed for 30 odd years, using their ground facilities there until we've recently outgrown it, like I say.
So tell us a bit about your new facilities, the King George's playing field.
Yeah, so it's based at the back of my old high school, at Heysham High School, which is now an academy. We're based at the back of there. It's a small facility, lots of a good pitch, really, really good pitch. We've had a lot of help getting that developed through the local council. We've just received grants from the Football Foundation for a tractor to our own ground maintenance and a 5-year ground maintenance plan. And we've also just received a grant from the Football Foundation to put some security fencing up. There's a small facility there with a little small kitchen, 6 changing rooms, 2 showers, blocks inside and toilets. But I'm meeting somebody tomorrow to put some planning permission in for building, getting the planning with the local council to build our own clubhouse there within the grounds, the security fencing that we're putting up. So, yeah, it's great. Facility's great, good car parking, nice big open space, great views. It's lovely. It feels like we've found somewhere at last.
That would be massive as well. I mean, I know it's the dream, isn't it? When for a number of clubs, obviously we're travelling over to Bentley at the weekend, to see the opening of the clubhouse, and it's so important, isn't it? And it's a real dream for clubs. We spoke to Portico in the past, who's managed to upgrade their facilities, and
just recently, haven't we?
Yeah, and I think it's magnificent that now this is happening. There's obviously a lot of work that's gone in for this.
Yeah, there's a lot of work's gone into it. It happened pretty quick. There was a very big field to the side of it, which we approached the school for, but they weren't prepared to give us a 25-year lease, and we needed that to get the funding. So then I just sort of spoke to the chairman of the football club there, and we had a bit of a meeting, and I think they got a bit tired. There was 2 or 3 of them doing everything, and we came in. It's injected a lot of life in there, and there was a good 150 people watching our first game there on Saturday against Lancaster University. But I've gone through a lot of the plans. I've looked at Shevington. We play Shevington every year, and I speak to Steve there, and I speak to Wayne at Ashton Bears. They've developed their own, and Shevington have got like a footprint that we'd really like and that we want to work off. And I always, when I'm trying to explain to people what I want in the future, I always look at what Shevington have and their plans there. We've got an open field with the changing rooms and the facility fenced off, and they've been quite helpful. Shevington sent me some plans and some discussions with them. So it's very exciting times. It's really exciting for the juniors. We've got a ladies team with under 15 girls are training now. Masters teams, the ladies Masters team are trying to develop at the moment. So yeah, we've got a new coach as well, so we're going from strength to strength. Yeah,
it sounds like it's all going on, to be honest. Easham's the place to be, mate.
It's a busy year, mate, very busy, and it's exciting. Yeah, it's I've said to all lads that at least I found a home somewhere, and when I pass away, I've got somewhere to scatter my ashes, mate. That's all I wanted.
Well, hopefully that's not for a very long time, to be honest, Dave.
Hopefully not, no, mate, no. Let's get the clubhouse built first, I'll be happy then.
Got to ask you about, the coaching setup then. Who have you brought in, and, what are they going to bring?
I brought the gentleman we brought in is a fellow called Steve Woodburn, and he's just finishing off coaching rugby union at Thornton Cleveley's. But he has got a rugby league background up at Millham, Cumbrian bloke, and he's brought already in the first few friendlies we've played. We've seen a really different style of how we're playing, and spinning the ball wider a lot, attacking at angles, different wide out, and it's working for us really. We're not the biggest side in the middle, so we're just trying to give the ball a bit of width, and it's just keeping people engaged and getting the players in, and I think he's always talked about a 3-year plan. Yeah. So this year's a trial year, then we'll kick on, and then we kick on again, and then let's see where we can get to. We've had some good years, and we've had some really, really difficult years in the Premiership for the last few years, really. But we're always there. We always turn up, and we'll always give 100%.
Well, we were just having a little chat before I pressed the record button, weren't they? And 38 years, and not one game given up.
No, that's right. No,
that's one hell of a record, to be fair.
It is, mate. Yeah, I started in the very first season. I think we played friendlies in 86, and then we joined the league Division 9 in 87, and we've never given a league game. I remember going to Carmill when they had a team in about 1989 with 11 of us, but we've never ever not given a game up. We've always travelled, we always turn up. Might not be the best team on the park a lot of times, but we'll always give it 100%, and that is a very proud factor for us that we've never ever given a game up. And we travel over an hour every other week, whereas teams only come to us once a season, and it's something that we really work hard on, always committing to them fixtures week in, week out.
So this might sound like a little bit of a strange question then, but if you was to have a local derby, who would be your closest club? And they might not even be in the same division as you, to be fair.
Well, no, we played Lancaster University on Saturday in a friendly, actually. So one of our players coaches them, which is their rugby league side, Lancaster Lynx, and it was a good game. We won 36-4, but yeah, it was a good game. Besides that, it has always used to be Bamber Bridge.
Okay.
When they had a team. Chorley, we played in a friendly earlier this season. The other way, you're looking at Dalton, Ironpool, Ulverston. Yeah. Round that way. So, yeah, it was probably Bamber Bridge was our closest. So, yeah, that was a 35, 40-minute drive. And then you're not far out into Wigan then, are you, as soon as you get past Bamber Bridge? So
I suppose, don't mention Wigan to me, Dave. Don't mention Wigan. No, I am only kidding, by the way. I am only kidding. As a Leither, I can have this kind of banter, can't I, to be fair?
I'm a Warrington fan, mate, so I know where you're coming from, don't worry.
I'm looking at a couple of the pictures actually that you had taken of the game against Lancaster, and as you mentioned, really encouraging numbers on the touchline.
Yeah, really impressive with that. Yeah, there was a lot down. It was we got a bit of a kitchen in there, and we just thought we'd run it as a bit of an experiment. And yeah, we had a fantastic day. The weather was good to us. Loads down that pit touch line. It was. I was quite surprised, very, very pleasantly surprised, obviously, but I was quite surprised with the numbers, and hopefully we can kick on from there. We're trying to make it more. We're changing the name of the club to not King George's, but King George's Community Sports Hub. Because we want to draw people in. We're trying to work with other sports, work with the football. We're going to do fundraising days, but we want to make it a community for us all, because it's in a difficult area of Heysham, not very affluent area. So trying to pull all sorts in, all different types of people, and try and really build a community there.
It's becoming more than a rugby club then, isn't it? It's about offering far more. I mean, I know, is this something that you've looked at with regards to what Shevington do and the likes of West Hull, where they've got like they involve the local community as well?
Yeah, definitely. I think Shevington, obviously we play Shevington twice a year, but Shevington has been the blueprint for what we wanted to do regarding our facilities and our club. I've spoke to Steve there, and Steve's been very helpful and showing us it's hard work. It's hard to get where we want to do, but it's definitely something we involve all children. We've got a Cubs team right through now to, like I say, ladies and masters ladies, and we look at every case individually. We charge the absolute minimum we can to involve the people and the parents, and look at all cases individually if need be. So it really is trying to build that community that's something's affordable for kids that they want to do,
And it's important as well, isn't it, to offer something else to the community. And we've all been in that period, haven't we, where something's dragged us into rugby league and something's got us interested. And it can be other sports, it can be other pastimes as well, and yet you end up falling in love with this sport.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. I was born in Warrington, but moved to Morecambe when I was 4 and 5. But I had great history in my family. My mum's uncle was Jim Tranter, who played 400 odd games for Warrington, played for England, played for Lancashire as well. And it was always in me, the rugby league, and I always wanted to do so. And when I found out that they were starting a game, the team started with a fella called Jim Hamilton, who a Cumbrian player who was played for Blackpool, big prop forward. Couldn't sign for Warrington, but broke his leg, and he got the team going here, got a lot of people involved, and it was great. It was just that community, and that's what we wanted to build, and we've just managed to keep it going. I don't know how. I remember going to the first league meeting in Wigan, like I say, 1987. I remember some old bloke saying next to me, I'll give you a season, lads, that's it, with all that travelling, and nearly 40 years later, we're still there. So it's...
Have you ever met that guy again? Since I said, hey, we're still here.
No, I haven't, mate. No. All league meetings have gone online now, so I don't think if people connect. But no, it was, it was the old Ron Girth in North West Counties, which was good. It was good winter rugby then, wasn't it? So
it was. I mean, I know when I started watching, like rugby league, we got sort of 7 divisions, I think, of that. But I believe there was even more around when Heysham started, wasn't there?
Yeah, we started in Division 9.
Division 9, wow.
Yeah, along with Griffin, it was Billy Boston's pub in Wigan. They had a thing, and then there was Johnny Stockford had a pub. So he had a pub team there, and there was Winnick Hospital in Warrington. They had a team, and there were a lot of pub teams. Then Brookhouse was Johnny Stockford's pub. Atherton, Adlington, Blackpool Stanley, Bamber Bridge. There were a lot of teams knocking around then that aren't around today. I think when I look at it, in the division I went into, I think we're the only team left that was started in that division them years ago.
Yeah, and it's a credit to you that you rose all the way to the Prem and you're still there.
Yeah. More luck than judgment sometimes with some of the displays and some of the seasons we've had, and some teams have dropped out. We've kept there because of numbers, but every year there's the option to think whether we can stay in that division or not, and we can request to go down a division. And we've always said no, we'll stay where we are, and we've very proud of the fact that we are still there and we're still competing. I think. Sorry.
I was just going to say, you've got such a busy year on. What would look at it as a success come the end of the season?
I think a real success for us, and being realistic, would be a mid-table. We've brought a new coach in, lots of new ideas, really great. Everybody's really biting into it. Everyone's keen. It's like been given a second go at it, really, and everyone's stepping up to the mark. So I think with the new facilities, we're going back to a pub on Morecambe Promenade, and everyone's going back. It's a really good team spirit at the moment. So I just think if a mid-table would be happy, we'd know that we need improvement. And then the coach has always spoke now about a 3-year plan, looking for where we can be in 3 years' time. So I think that's what we need to aim for, really.
I mean, there's much bigger pictures around, isn't there, with the whole development of the club? You've mentioned the Masters, you've mentioned the ladies' side, you've got your junior set up as well. So, you're really building it for the future, right?
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. And it's that difficult period I think every club goes through, isn't it? It's from your 16s progressing into the open age team. It's that gap, it's keeping them captivated amongst that step in. A lot go to university, and we're lucky to have a university close by because players come the other way as well. So we get lads who are at the uni who play for the Atoms as well. So it works both ways. But it's captivating that gap and keeping them interested right through, isn't it? And that's a difficult thing I think it's for all clubs, not just for Heysham. I think it's for all clubs.
So what do you do? Do you put like posters up in the the local university, or get involved in some of the societies or something? How would you attract the players? Like in that respect.
So one of our lads who joint captain of the team and is the ex-coach's son, Dan Elmy, he's been asked to go up to coach the Lancaster University team. So he's gone up coaching them. They've had a really successful year. They're in the final of their cup next Wednesday afternoon. So obviously with him being there and the links to the Atoms, then players have been coming back and two, really. So we've signed a few this year and hopefully they'll kick on. Obviously you've got their summer holidays when they go home for 8 weeks or whatever it is, but if they're not too far away, and we've got a few lads who are interested in the Wigan St Helens area, so they'll be playing home games when we're away and away games when we're at home. So it works quite well, really, if you know what I mean. Yeah.
It's quite a unique situation, isn't it? I'm sort of thinking about other clubs that may have, universities on the doorstep, but, I wonder how many of them have actual link-ups with them, So I can think of like Nottingham Outlaws being out there in the Midlands, for example, or, maybe, a couple of teams up in the northeast, but you're in quite a privileged spot there, aren't you? Where I suppose Lancaster Uni and Lancaster is just a short hop away, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's only 15 minutes in the car up to the uni. So, yeah, it is. We are quite privileged to have that, and there's been a strong link there for a lot of years. Really, I remember. I think one of our very first friendlies would have been like 1986. We played the university team then when they had a rugby league team very early on, and they've had something for all these years. They have an ex-players dinner every year. I remember attending a couple of them with Adrian Morley as guests and stuff, and so they've been well established for a long time. Lancaster Links, they call themselves. So yeah, and it's just about at the right time feeding into them, really, and that's worked well with Dan coaching them. So yeah, it's been a good link, really has for us as a club. I'm
thinking of like other ways in which you can develop. Do you have like? Because I noticed that Bolton around they have like an ex-players day where the ex-players put a team together against the current players. Have you got anything like that in the offing that you've been doing? To sort of keep that interest, I suppose, of ex-players.
Yeah, we've had the Boxing Day Bash. We've had a few times where the players are over 30 played against the younger ones, and been a lot of banter where these over 30 still think they can do it and go out and smash it, and then they just get absolutely turned over by the young lads. So we've had a few of them. We raised quite a bit of money for motor neuron disease over the last couple of years when we've been based at the Vale for doing that on the Boxing Day. We didn't have one this year because we were in mid-transition to moving to King George's. Yeah, that's definitely something that we'll look and develop again because it's always been very, very successful. So yeah, keep them involved we have dinners. We have Wembley trip every year, which is mainly us older ones that go on that now. So make fools of ourselves once again. But yeah, it's just keeping everybody it's keeping ex-players interested as well. And that's a difficult thing as well sometimes, because life moves on, doesn't it? But,
it certainly does, yeah. But it sounds like you're doing things the right way there, and it's still very, very organic, isn't it?
It is, yeah. It's very much insular. I've often spoke about, if you're brought up in your St Helens or Widnes or Wigan, Warrington areas, you can jump from club to club.
Yeah.
If you love rugby league, and if it's not working for you there, you can go somewhere else. But we can't here. The lads say once an atom, always an atom, because you've got no option. If you want to play rugby league, you stop at Heysham, and that's how we are, and that's been a good team spirit for a lot of years as well.
Yeah, I mean, I get that feeling in speaking to you. It's you've got a tight knit group, and everybody's willing to pull the tripe and work the hind tail off, shall we say, for everybody else. Yeah,
passionate group, and especially the core of us who are working as the committee side of it with this new venture. Everyone's 100% behind it. Everybody's working as hard as they can, doing grants, going down on the days off, marking the pitches, cutting the grass. We're very, very much behind it, and we were really, really wanting to succeed. So it's good to have that core, really strong core of ex-players and current players all working together for the best of the club.
I mean, that it points to a stronger future, that as well, isn't it? Particularly if you can get current players getting involved in perhaps some of the off-field stuff as well.
Yeah, because it becomes part of they own it. It becomes part of them, doesn't it? Really, it's something that they've built, something that they've seen develop, and they become proud of it, and they become want to look after it and develop it even further. So I think it's really important that we get people to bite into it. Yeah, definitely.
Dave, I've loved finding out about the club. Thank you ever so much for taking the time.
Thanks, Dave.
I appreciate as well, the fact that it is a really, really busy year. I'm hoping that once you've got everything sorted, maybe we can have another one of these chats, and perhaps you can even keep us up to date, because with all respect, sometimes it's a little bit difficult to get the information from other competitions. With regards to like scores and scorers and things like that, and it'd be nice just to add a little bit of context to what we do.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, and you got to get yourself down and come and have a pint on Morecambe Promenade with us one summer's day after a game. Watch your game and come and have a pint, and see what we do down here as well. That'd be good.
13 Pro Am, giving a voice to community rugby league.
I felt like I was doing one of my on tours again.
Yeah,
it had that sort of feel about it, didn't it? Having that chat and finding out all about it, and some of the great work that they're doing up there. It all sounds very, very encouraging. That they've got this almost this living link now with Lancaster University, and he's talked there about some players that during out of season and even during the season they've joined them and they played for them, and it just sounds very positive that they've actually returned to Heysham. I never realised that they hadn't actually played in Heysham for that long.
Yeah, for a long time. They're playing in Morecambe, which obviously is right next door to Heysham, but I think the bottom line there, from my point of view, going back all that way, that they've never ever not fulfilled a fixture.
See, I thought you picked that one out.
I
thought you picked that one out, Steve.
It's the one bugbear. That's my bugbear, and even more so, like he was saying, they're not on the doorstep. Don't get me wrong; they're not as far away as some other clubs, but nevertheless, they're travelling. Like he said, I think it was an hour every other week. And take my hats off to them. And some of the clubs he was talking about, the Carmel, going way, way back when.
He mentioned some of the pub sides, didn't he? And said that basically everybody, and I mean, this is. I remember having conversations with you regarding this, and you said yourself about remembering a lot of these pub sides.
Yeah, that's exactly how it was. There were pub sides. We're talking the Portico Vine that we've just said. Portico Vine came from the Vine pub, which is in Tatooine. and you got Boilermakers was in St Helens. You got obviously Miners Welfare's clubs as well, who started in a similar sort of vein. You know, they only had the open age side, as it were.
It's quite apt you mentioning, Miners and Miners Welfare, particularly on this week, of course, which is 40 years since the national strike.
Yeah.
Something that I think really shaped rugby league territory.
Definitely on both sides of the Pennines as well. I mean, very much so. It devastated that industry, didn't it?
Yes, I sort of diversified there a little bit, didn't I? But I think it's important to acknowledge kind of where you came from. Yeah. And that's part of what this show's about as well, to be honest. So we want to talk about the community clubs. We want to talk about the development of them, So it's really, really positive to hear about all these new developments that Heasham's got, and the plans as well to get like clubhouses built and this type of thing, and looking as well at what's inspired them. So he mentioned a couple of times Shevington Sharks and that they've got such a good relationship with Shevington. And he actually said, have you been over to Shevington yet? And I have to admit, we've not had the opportunity to go yet, have we? But
well, I've actually been there to watch when they played Oral St James, I think it was last year. Yeah. And it's over and saw the facilities and everything. And it's vast. And the clubhouse is the centre of things, and you sort of look at it, you think there's a vision here where, okay, they've got the clubhouse there now, but there's also facilities or there's the space there that if they want to make things bigger, there's always that opportunity, which I'm sure at somewhere further down the lines they will do. It's sensible in doing like the footprint that they've done currently and get that working. Let that raise the money for you for all your, things that you need to do. And hopefully that can then help you, when you want to fund anything else. But yeah, Shevington's really, really nice.
It's just a shame, really, that after that interview, Heasham are starting with an away game.
Yep, very, very much so. So we'll have a quick run through of the fixtures for this first weekend of the North West Mend, and we'll start off in the Prem. We've got Ashton Burrs. Yeah, well, Ashton Burrs, they do welcome Isham Atoms. It's a good hour and a bit drive, I think, that one. But, that will be a good game. Then we've got Hurst Finch take on Foley Lane. Finch, of course, had a really good season last season. Well, last couple of seasons, they've been really up to the mark. And then the one that is interesting me is Oral St James, champions for the last 2 years, if I'm not wrong. Will be taking on Blackbrook and be able to see interested how Blackbrook are standing. So
does this mean that they're after the three-peat if we're going to be going down that route?
I think that's what it will be. Yeah, if the Penrith Panthers and Saints have done it, I'm sure they'll be looking to do it as well.
It is an intriguing one, and I think as well, it always comes down to Wigan St Helens derbies, doesn't it? Yeah. And you always look at those type of fixtures, don't you, on a fixture list?
Yeah, and the other thing is as well, you look at the two clubs, and if you look at their history and the background and the players that they've, sort of got into the mainstream game. I mean, they've got some really big names, both clubs there, so it's always interesting in that respect. Oral St James, which I've said many a time, for me, could easily go into the lower echelons of the NCL and compete well. Blackbrook, obviously, I mean, I had a bit of certainly a couple of years ago, they really, really had a faltering seasons and lost a lot of players, but started to come back and play some good rugby as well. So it'll be interesting to see where they're at currently at the moment.
They do generally play some nice rugby, the Blackbrook as well. And certainly when I've been down, I've been quite impressed with sort of the style that they try and they put. They try and play rugby league with a smile on the faces, which is always good, because it means that you're seeing that the players are enjoying it, and also generally the spectators enjoy it as well. Then, don't they?
And another club which has been going, a while and has had that structure in place all the way down to the juniors and the Cubs, etc. Always had a really good clubhouse. You go there in and around there, certainly on a Sunday, which is obviously not the open age day, but go down there on a Sunday. You will get nowhere to park. There are that many people there watching the kids play rugby, and they've got quite a few fields in and around. They've got their own, and then if I'm not wrong, it's council ones. I think that the council ones that are across the road, so they've got quite access to quite quite a lot of facilities there.
And a former National Conference League club as well, Blackpool,
right,
going back a few years too. So how does the rest of the fixtures look in that division?
In that division, we got Shevington Sharks up against Halton Farmouth Hornets, always flying the flag for Widnes, obviously. Wigan Springview up against Latchford Albion. I'm sure Latchford Albion will be looking to push on this season, because I think Martin Ellis, by his own admission, felt they had a bit of an off season for them last year. Obviously down to players as much as other things as well. And ironically, when you get players that are getting representative games, obviously you can't always call on them for your club size. So it's a bit of chicken and egg sort of situation. It's great to see the lads getting there, but you're slightly disappointed sometimes you can't pick them because they're away playing other games, etc.
And also with Latchford, they've had a couple of other players who you're right, they have played higher up, both representatively, right, and also in the form of Charlie McCurry. Obviously he tried with Widnes at the start of the season as well, and played in a couple of their friendly games. So I'm sort of I'm with you. I'm interested to see sort of where Latchford go. Again, I know that Martin keeps things interesting, he keeps things engaging for his players, and certainly the training session that I was at was kind of light. It was fun. It was all about skills, and they're another side that, again, because of the surroundings that they generally play in.
Just going to say that exactly the same.
You can't come up with any other type of game, can you? You've got to play an open game on such an open ground. So Division 1. So I'll run through a couple of these fixtures. So we've got Burton Wood Bridge against West Orton Lions. This is certainly one that's whetted your appetite, Steve.
It has, and mainly because having watched Burton Wood Bridge sort of develop over the last few seasons, and so again, they're another team who are playing some good rugby. Worthy winners and promotion-wise last season. It's good to see them be able to test the game against a higher level, and I'm sure they'll do well. I honestly do.
Visiting the zoo this week, visiting Dalton, but they may be having a bit of time at the zoo. It'll be Wigan St Cuthbert's. Goulburn Parkside, they're at home against Thatto Heath Crusaders A. That's a bit of an intriguing start, isn't it, for Goulburn Parkside? While Hindley, who were a Premier Division club last season, of course, they'll take on Chorley Panthers. Always a club that has sort of batted above its weight a little bit, aren't they, Chorley? And I know that's certainly the well thought of around the community circles at Chorley Panthers, particularly with the colostomy.
Oh yeah,
because they have them on the jerseys actually, and they usually play a game or two against them every season. So they're important for getting the word out on some of those other issues as well. And Ulverston, they're at home against Salford City Roosters. Into Division 2, Steve.
Yeah, well, first and foremost, because we've got a slightly uneven amount of teams in Division 2, West Bank Bears have a bye in the first round.
So it's not bye you have actually got in the league?
No.
Oh, that's a shame.
Leigh Miners Rangers, they welcome Hinepool Tigers to Leigh. And then we've got Roost Pioneers up against Newton Storm. And if I remember rightly, it might have been the same last year that Newton went up to Roost Pioneers. First game of the season. Long trip for them, but both those teams at the end of the season, I think, will be in the mix for this division. Then we've got Walney Central, also up there in that neck of the woods. They will be welcoming Ashton Bears A. And then finally, Waterhead Warriors A, where we'll welcome Rochdale Mayfield A.
That's a bit of a local derby, really, isn't it? That's an Oldham-Rochdale derby.
It's on that cusp, isn't it? There's only a thin line between them.
It is. And, two great clubs, to be honest, there as well. So be interesting to see just who's going to be turning out for the A-sides this year. Division 3, well, that sees, this looks like a barnstorming game to open it all up. Bank Bulls, who performed so strongly last season, up against Wigan St Jude's A, who, will be able to call on some some very good players. I know
that's what I thought, actually.
They've been impressed, to be honest, of Wigan St Jude's with their turnout to during the pre-season, and also coming through, and the number of people that they've got training down there. It just seems to be a club that's on the up at the moment. And well played to them, to be fair, but that's going to be intriguing. Banky Bulls can also play some nice rugby. They've got a couple of players that look really, really handy. Blackpool Scorpions, they're hosting Oldham St Anne's, Cadishead Rhinos make the journey. A short journey, it must be said, over to Garswood Stags. Meanwhile, Higginshaw take on Clockface Miners and Leigh East they've got a home tie against Runcorn Highfield.
And down into Division 4, again another division that's got slightly imbalance in teams. So Langworthy Reds have the bye. Then Culcheth Eels, they're up against Orrell St James Liverpool Lizards, they take on Bolton Orrell FC. And just speaking about Liverpool Lizards, but they were in a similar sort of position, if you remember, as Isham. And they were calling upon Liverpool University for some of their players as well. So it just proves, if you've got a university in the vicinity of where your club is, it's always worthwhile to put the feelers out there and see, are there any people interested? 'Cause I'm sure there are.
And also it gets them playing more rugby league more regularly, because obviously they only play. University Rugby League gets played generally on a Wednesday.
Yeah.
So it opens them up for another game of rugby league at some other point, doesn't it?
Yeah, it certainly does. And I've got to say to both those sides that, take your hat off to you're thinking outside the box a little bit, perhaps a few more, and I'm sure there are that we don't know about that would actually do that. The last two games, which are both very interesting because of what I mentioned before. First and foremost, it's Portico Vine. Well, they welcomed the Chester Gladiators down to Portico, and I'm sure there'll be a big crowd for that one as well.
It's been quite interesting looking at Chester Gladiators' social media in the close season, because they've made a few changes. They seem to have a really young committee that's stepped forward. There's some of those faces I'm looking at, I'm thinking, are you old enough? Because with all due respect, by the time you get on, when we talk about committees, sometimes it's people that's been involved in clubs for years and years and years, isn't it? And have so many years of dedication behind them. But I'm all for it. I'm really pleased to see some younger faces on committees and such like.
Dip your toes into it. It's no harm whatsoever, I can assure you, because it opens your eye into how things and structures are put together into running places, and it's very interesting because you get to know who the players are, get to know a lot of the rules, and I don't just mean the rugby rules, I mean from a business point of view, and things that you would never have dreamed of having to sort of do if you were just a player, as it were. But hats off to both of them. We know Portico Vine, we've been down there with our look at the facilities, it's absolutely fantastic. And Chester Gladiators, I'm sure, whatever the result, they'll have a great time up there. And finally, in that division, we've got the West Orton Lions and they're up against ADOC. And as I said, it's great to hear that ADOC have got an open age side back out on the park again. And I think they'll have a better nous about them. I don't think they'll be down there very long. I think very soon they'll be possibly moving up.
I know it was gutting for them at the time when they had to withdraw their open age side, but they've carried on, haven't they, in the background with some excellent work at the younger age groups. We already know that they have so many committee volunteers over there at Haydock, don't we? So I'm with you. I'm delighted that we're seeing them return, and I can't wait to track how they're going to progress over the course of the season. No doubt we'll keep you up to date. We'll have all the results from those divisions next week. Right, moving on. I tell you what, we had our first wet weather game, didn't we? In the National Conference League, we've got week 1 done and dusted out of the way. We were over at Crosfields against Skirlaugh, and you know something, for a while I thought we were going to escape the weather, but blimey, it came back to haunt us in the second half, didn't it?
It did, and we got there, and it had, obviously over the weekend it had a little bit of rain had been put down, It was a little bit muddy under feet, and I know you, Parky, you'd been over to Leigh, hadn't you?
I had,
in the morning, so you'd already some of the mud, as it were. It wasn't bad, the pitch at Crosfields. The only doubt I had, or sort of strange feeling, was why they'd let a couple of teams play on it beforehand, because there was a kids game and a masters.
And girls as well. Girls were playing on it in the morning. Yeah.
But in that in mind, at the end of the day, it considered it had that many games on it, held up fairly well, but it probably could have been, if they'd have left it, we may have had a bit more of an open game. But at one point we thought, we've bypassed all this rain, it looked glorious. And then it decided big black clouds started to come in, and we looked at each other and we knew it was going to come about. And fortunately we had an umbrella on hand, so that just managed to save us to a certain degree.
Yeah, I mean, I've got to compliment Steve here on his umbrella holding skills, because I think he managed to keep the bulk of things dry. Although I must say that my bag did take about 4.5 hours to dry out, and these headphones that I'm wearing as well also took a little bit of time as well. But hopefully it's not doing anything for the Leigh accent, but hopefully you can still hear me loud and clear. So yeah, but yes, it was a good start to the season for Crosfields. Let's hear some of the highlights. George Thompson well involved in that stop again. Abram goes to his left hand side, goes to Brown. Brown has scored. That's the first try of the game. Tom Brown smuggling his way in. We've been going for 6 minutes here. Just to the right, Steele. The pass wasn't a good one, but Leigh has sent it wide. They've gone in at the corner. Jack Williams, the scorer. Lovely bit of play from him. Just 10 metres to go. Stanway scheming on the left, feeding it out.
That could be in.
And Alex Clutterbuck has managed to get his way in. Belligerent running from Clutterbuck. He came in, he came out. He held the defence off, showed some tremendous strength, and goes in for the third try of the game as far as Crosfields are concerned. 21 minutes in. Morrow. Just held by Corey Leigh, 10 metres out from the line, plays it back quickly, little darting run.
They're in at the corner.
Jack Danby has worked his way in. It's a fantastic bit of play from Danby. He did the old swivel hips and it took him past 3 defenders. Other set of 6 tackles coming up. Webster dropping the ball through.
He's in at the corner.
It's Danby in again. Danby following through on the kick. It was a beautiful kick forward.
Yeah, I thought he'd made a mistake at first. I didn't think he'd seen the wipe the tackle count clean, but a lovely little kick, and the winger latched onto the end. As I said, Parker, the confidence is up at the moment for Skirlaugh.
Back into the middle with Abram.
Yeah.
He finds Millington up to the 10 metre line.
Crossfield drived in towards those posts again.
Stanway takes over. Little step, little dap, he's through.
Under the sticks.
A wonderful bit of individual brilliance, Brad Stanway. There wasn't a lot on when he got hold of that ball, was there? Abram goes to Barber. Kick comes in from Stanway. It's a reverse one for Walker. Walker under the post.
Beautiful.
A superb finish from Crosfields. What a kick from Stanway. Crowns his man of the match performance. And that is the final play. The kick came in. Crosfields regathered possession. The tackle was a good one from Skirlaugh. And we finish here 26 points to 10, Steve. So yeah, 26 points to 10, Steve. I tell you what, we're going to be.
You stole your own line then.
we're going to be coming out with. You're going to be counting the Parkyisms, aren't you, over the course of the season when we do our things? So you was laughing at a couple of the words I used there. So belligerent was one.
Love that one. Yeah.
Swivel hips.
That was another.
Yeah, following through.
I think the one from the other week.
We're going to watch where we said that, to be honest. I've got to watch that one. That could mean a whole different sort of thing.
Yeah, mine's saying that there was that much mud. It looked like some had. Got to say another one from last week or the week before was a brick wall with eyes.
A brick wall with eyes. Yeah.
But I've got to say, I mean, considering the conditions and obviously that rain which you heard halfway through there coming down onto the umbrella that me and Parky were under, it was a good game. It was a good game, and it was strange because Crosfield sort of got themselves together a little bit when it started raining, didn't they?
They did.
They were drifting a little bit at one point.
They were. Skirlaugh had made a really good start to the second half, hadn't they? And they couldn't add the points because I think at half time it was 14-10. And this was after Crosfields had gone 14-0 up in 21 minutes, like you heard there.
But ironically, Skirlaugh were the ones who probably went into the sheds with the confidence because they had the momentum. As we use that word a lot, but they did. So,
and to be fair, they also had three of the better players that were on the field, didn't they? And little Morrow at fullback, who was a revelation. Yeah. They then had Gilby, the goal kicking second rower, who was absolutely everywhere. And the skipper Josh Oliver, who was tireless. And when I got the team sheet later on, I was really happy that he'd been named man of the match by the home side for the away team, because that's what you tend to do. The away team picks the man of the match for the home side, and then that's what you put on your team sheet and it gets sent through.
I think that's the correct way of doing things in that respect. And having watched the game, he's one of these captains who leads by example. You can see that he doesn't. No backward step, clever play, all the time. You could see him trying to, sort of set the platform, and Morrow at the back. No size to him, wasn't frightened of getting stuck in, was there linking up, was in lots of plays. He looked more of an half-back size and his attitude than a full-back, to be fair.
And perhaps like the standout player of the game, though, was Brad Stanway for Crosfields, who, a very controlled halfback. You heard on the highlights there, it was I think it was 2 try assists then, wasn't it? Because it sounded like he got Clutterbuck over for his try on that left hand side and put the little kick in, and the step, it was slow motion, it was brilliant because it was so slow motion that everybody bought it. And then next thing you know, this gap just opened straight through.
There were 3 cars on the dual carriageway at the side. Actually took that dummy and went round took the wrong turning. And he had a really good game. And I know he's somebody I identified a couple of seasons ago in a Warrington Cup final, and he played exactly the same on the weekend as he did in that game as well. He dictated things, probably dictated things a lot more on Saturday, and you could see his players were, sort of comfortable with what he was doing.
Okay, so that's our thoughts about it, but what about the people that counted? Well, afterwards, I caught up, first of all, with the new Crosfields head coach, Rob Campbell, and this is our conversation.
Well, Rob, up and running for the start of the season, a 26 points to 10 victory. How does that sound, and how was the game for you?
Yeah, obviously I'm really happy with the result, really happy with the effort we put in. We made life hard for ourselves in certain bits, went off the ball. We started really strong, and I thought especially in this league, you've got to kick on, haven't you? You've got to punish teams, but that's hats off to Skirlaugh. They came back at us really strong, and we held in tight.
I mean, your first 20 minutes, you must have been really pleased with the way that you set off, because it was like 100 miles an hour, and next thing you know, you're 3 tries up, 14 points to the good. But yeah, you was kind of like hanging on a little bit in the last 10 minutes of the first half, weren't you?
Yeah, so one thing we've been massive on is starting games really big. So me and Danny are obviously made up with how we started. But again, you can't invite good teams like Skirlaugh back into games like that, because it could go other way for us. That's when you show your tough side, is when you're struggling in a game, and we did that today. Again, first game of the season, there was some good stuff in bad conditions. So I am happy with how we start, but it's not always how we start, it's how we finish sometimes, isn't it? That we improve anyway.
I was going to touch on that, because second half we had the huge rain shower, and it threatened to get really, really scrappy in that period. But again, I thought your guys controlled it. Brad Stanway stepped up at the point when he had to, didn't he? Scored that brilliant try under post, and then that seemed to settle everything down again.
So I actually think our ball control got better when the weather got bad, which obviously might just be in the player's mind that, it's absolutely lashing it down, let's sort our control out. But Brad, well, we've said to Brad this year, this is his team. When you've got an halfback like Brad, give him a bit of free rein. He takes us around the field so well, and I think he's one of the reasons he controlled that really big pack and got us going forward, and obviously scoring the points. But it's just how he takes us around the field, dabs us into corners. he's a massive thing for us, Brad. He's going really well.
Because, I mean, he's been down here a few years now, isn't it? So it's nice to see him sort of pushing on and kicking on, and it sounds like you're going to build a team around him.
Yeah, so Brad's always had the quality. Growing up in Warren, you always know who Brad Stanway is. I think the thing with it is he was in and out of teams, lads coming in. I think me and Danny have given him a bit of confidence by saying, actually, Brad, if you want to do something here, we'll build a team around you. And players like that play off confidence. You can see that. You can see that when you back your halfbacks, back your players, especially lads who love the club like Brad. He's been here all his life, I think, and he'll do it. It'll repay us for giving him that confidence, giving him that trust.
It was also good to see your middles really roll up. I've just seen Elliot Liku, and it looks like he's going to take him about half an hour to get clean.
Yeah. So I was really proud of our middles, because in games like that, let's be honest, it's where it's won in conditions. The pitch was turned up, the effort that they put in. Some of them playing banged up as well. Like Milo played nearly a full game. We think he's got a suspected broken rib. Just being tough like that.
That's brave.
Yeah, of course it is. And it's good to see they're willing to buy into the club. And a lot of these men are Crosfields lads. So we've not tried to bring people in and do anything different. Build it round the lads who want to be here, who love the club, and you can see that with the effort. I just mentioned now a young lad, Jack Nolan. He came on for 20 minutes in that second half. 17 years of age, playing with a broken nose. Absolutely outstanding, Jackie, today. Was
he the lad at WR?
Yeah, he came on at 9, and it's a tough place to go. Someone at 17, he smashed his nose first tackle he was involved with, and he just toughed it out. And that's what we're trying to build, is lads like him.
You look like you were sharing a bit of banter with him on the touchline when he came back out, actually.
Yeah, I was just saying welcome to Open Age Rugby, and I was just telling him that he's going to end up looking like me if he carries on. His nose all over the place, but no, he loved it, and I was dead proud of him. There's a lot of people who did a lot of good stuff today.
Yeah, I imagine that's a win that you can be really proud of, to be fair.
Yeah, and Skirlaugh were a great side, a quality conference one side. And the first game of the season, they're going to come here, turn us over on our own patch, and we matched everything they had. Don't get me wrong, we're not the smartest all the time, but if we can get that smarts to match the effort, I think we'll be okay.
It'd be remiss of me not to mention things like the little sin binning which came into effect somewhere through the game as well. Do you know much about that?
So obviously he was on the other side of the field, and it looked like they were on a bit of a roll, and our back rowers got tangled. He told me he got pushed onto the ruck. It's one of them. It is what it is. But again, all you can do is defend it. They had the same, didn't they? I don't know what the hell I got sin bin for, but you gotta just match it, ain't you? It is what it is. Rugby's rugby. You get sin binnings. It's how we react, and we reacted really well.
Yep. But you're up and running for the season. Congratulations, and we'll keep an eye on your progress, mate.
Thank you. Thanks very much. Cheers.
Cheers, mate. Thank you.
Cheers. All right.
That was like Lord of the Rings, the end of that, wasn't it? It was so many endings to it. Cheers, thanks. Great, thank you. No, great to hear from Rob there.
Yeah.
And I think you can agree with all those points that he made.
Totally, it was absolutely spot on. We said during the game and in commentary, Parky, that the forwards were immense, absolutely immense. And like he said, Stanway led the team around the park. Absolutely superb. And whether they thought of it about, right, we'll stick this up the jumper while it's bouncing it down in, I don't know. I'm sure they'd like to think it that, and I'll give them the benefit of the doubt. But again, it served them well, and it was the correct thing to do. The other thing of note, which me and you were certainly keeping our eye out for, was the amount of penalties that would be given with regards to the tattle height being lowered to the armpit level.
Yeah, so it was Warrington match official Ollie Maddock who was in the middle of this one. And I've got to say, I thought he had a good game. He taught players through it, didn't he, as well, which I was quite impressed with. And although the penalty account was higher than last season, for me it didn't have an adverse effect.
No, it wasn't one of those where you were sort of thinking, oh, hang on, this is a stop-start game. I mean, it didn't seem. It just seemed like a routine game and the amount of penalties that were being given.
The players got to grips with it, didn't they? Really,
yeah.
Because there was only a handful of high tackle penalties throughout the game, wasn't there?
Yeah,
you know, and I know certainly Mr. Hodgson's gone and done an article in this week's trade press where I think he was asking, you know, what people's views were. I don't think it's something that you can have a view on after just one game, in all honesty, because you've not seen all of the referees, you've not seen how they administer it.
But what I would say, Parky, having looked through a lot of results and looked for sort of how things have gone on with all the teams, whatever divisions they've been playing in, I haven't seen anything, sort of like as I describe as John Wilkin-ish, with regards to high tackles, etc. Virtually nothing, to be fair. And all I can say is that game that we watched, the referee was good, the players were good. There were penalties given, but there was nothing rash as such where you thought, oh, hang on, that's a bit, isn't it? There was none of that. And obviously, when we go to these games, we're neutral. We've got no buy-in really to either team in that respect. So we see it as a sort of like fresh pair of eyes in that respect. And it was a great game.
Now, I did name check Elliot Liku a little bit earlier in my interview with Rob Campbell. We're going to hear from him right next, and I still wonder, did he ever get clean after the game?
Well, Elliot, we meet again, and I've got to say, you're grinning from ear to ear. You look the muckiest that I've ever seen you. What was that game like to play you, mate?
Conditions didn't suit us at all, but we just dug in for each other. We speak about three things before the game, and Danny and Rob have brought in terms of discipline, scramble and trust, and especially the second half that showed, keeping them to 0, and it was a real team effort today. It weren't just individuals winning it for us, which was nice.
I mean, to be fair, for the last 25 minutes, they chucked everything on the kitchen sink at you, didn't they?
Yeah, and we were our own worst enemies at times in terms of giving penalties away and giving them easy ball, but no, we were awesome from 1-17 today. Everyone really pulled it together and just fought for each other.
And again, you had such a great start to the game. I mean, it was 3 tries in the first 20 minutes. We were on commentary thinking this could be anything. This.
I know, and I think we go into our own heads a little bit, thinking because we've gone 3 tries up, we kind of regressed a little bit, but it showed what we're like as a team, the togetherness that we kicked on, and like I said, that second half performance really showed what Crosfields is about this year.
And I get the feeling as well, that you can see that togetherness, and I think it really showed through, because you have to tough it out, especially when the conditions turned really wet in that second half.
Yeah, massively, and you can just see that everything we've done from the start of pre-season to now is all coming to fruition, and it's nice to see that, like I say, all the boys are buying in, and it's just paying dividends on the pitch.
And it's nice to actually get that first win at season. It means that you can build into it now, can't you?
Yeah, of course. We want to make Crosfields, we want to make our home almost a fortress, like every rugby league team does. We want teams to come here and obviously feel like they've got to work hard to beat us at our own pitch.
You was 8th last year. You was very competitive, throughout the season. But I'm guessing this year you're hoping to maybe look a little bit further up the table.
Yeah, minimum is better than what we did last year in 8th, so we've just got to kick on and keep the buy-in, keep the togetherness. So that's what we're about as a club at the end of the day, togetherness. All the boys now go up and we stick together.
I've got to say, for me, the real game-changing moment was probably Brad Stanway when he skipped his way through. I think it was the slowest step that I've seen, but the quickest acceleration once he did the step.
He's like that, Brad. We call him the Luke Walsh because he can just turn it on, and you can see the quality he's got, and he just builds more and more. Like, that won't be the last time that Brad will show that quality, show that skill.
What's he like to play with?
Pain in the backside sometimes, but he's a really, really silky, really class player, and just you can see his rugby brain's always ticking over. Where do we go next? What's the next thing we do? How do we put pressure on them? Whether it's kicking game, whether it's passing, hitting the right option, you can tell he knows, and he lives for rugby. He really does live for rugby. You can tell he loves Crosfields through and through.
Elliot, thank you so much. Really appreciate it. Congratulations on the win. You're up and running for National Conference League 2024.
Thanks, Dave. Let's go, boys.
There you go. Let's go, boys. That's the rallying call, isn't it, from Elliot Liku after game number 1?
Gotta say, if you remember rightly, I said at the time when I saw him driving, I said, "Who's the big lad up front?" And you told me who he was. And do you know what? His efforts, and he just got the ball, got in there, made the meters, same as the guy on the other side. Was it Millington? Mm-hmm. Both of them really, really good. And the guys who come off the bench as well. As I said, they were used, correctly because of the way the weather was. They made the meters. Stanway was, he was really, really good. Got to say about Crosfields, we've been there during the summer when it's really, really nice, and it's a cracking venue. And I know this weekend when we were there, it's still early in the season, but they have a lovely little outside bar just under the scoreboard. And I know during the summer when that's open, and they get a cracking crowd there. And some of the games that are going to be on in that division, which are going to be local, because we said it before, there aren't many sort of Lancashire teams or Northwest teams that play. What I would say, if your team's playing there, get down and support your team there, because it's a cracking ground to do that on, I must admit.
Let's have a roundup of what else happened around the National Conference League before hearing from our 3 players who were closest to the action. So there are only a few points scored, as only 3 games survived in the Premier Division. Wharfborough Hornets claimed a 14-0 success over Rochdale Mayfield, while West Hull emerged with a 6-10 win at Egremont, and Hunslet ARLFC won at Siddle by 4 points to 6. Not a lot of points on offer there in those 3 games. They could have gone either way from the looks of them.
Yeah, when I saw those results come through, a couple of things I thought, is it the weather that's leveled things out, or is it just that early season where everybody's finding their feet, and then you've got the likes of Egremont, for instance, who've come up against West Hull. Although they've lost 10 points to 6 at home, that's still a good result in sort of as a benchmark and a measurement. Really is. I've got to say that. And again, Siddle only just getting beat 6 points to 4. We saw Siddle play against Clotface, and we saw how silky skills once they got into the stride. But obviously, from a defensive point of view, they've done really well there to take Hunslet down to just 6 points. Last year, they were like cricket scores they were putting on, weren't they, Hunslet?
This was a tough as teat game. And on Sunday, I got to have a chat with Danny Rouse, the Hunslet halfback. This is a summary of our conversation.
I'm with Danny Rouse. Danny, tough game yesterday. I mean, 6-4. Talk us through it.
Yeah. Just a massive defensive game. It was a game of 2 halves, really. The new rules didn't really suit Siddle. We'd been training quite heavily on the new structure, even though we'd been playing the old rules in the Challenge Cup. But it sort of favoured us. Our middles were immense. Just bending the backs and had a real dig. Very tight game. Very tight.
Because I think a lot of people would have looked at that and would have seen it as like the blue ribbon game for the NCL in week 1.
Yeah, absolutely. We sort of like, we're out there to get our heads scalped out with, with winning twice on the bounce. Everyone wants to beat us. But we've got a good community down there with the merger, and the 18s and second team all buy into what we're about and the culture that we're bringing in, and everyone's just buying into each other, and real good.
I love, like, from an outsider looking in as well, and this is like really encouraging for me to be hearing that as well, but from an outsider looking in, it seemed like a really settled club, and everybody's getting on and understand kind of like why it was done and all that business, and the proof's in the pudding. You've got a full trophy cabinet basically, haven't you, since?
Absolutely, and it was going to go one way or the other, and for us it were only going to go one way, but people did doubt it, but how everyone's bought into it, and the way the club as well, just off the field, they're buying into what the players want, so it just makes it all good, just for the sport in Hunslet and South Leeds in general. Yeah.
I know certainly I spoke to people involved at the club during your Barley Yorkshire Cup run, and they were saying now there's now a new breed of younger player that are starting to push through as well.
Yeah, there is. And
I don't want to push you out, by the way.
No. Well, I'm coming to the end of it, but we train together on Tuesday, and we've got the same setup throughout, and with the juniors coming through, all the coaches talk. There's plans in the future of us taking junior sessions, as an open age, getting involved more with the lower ranked age groups. So we are trying to make it a big organisation in that respect, because it is all about the kids at the end of the day. They got, we're not around forever.
But that as well says to me about how much you guys care.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's our own kids as well. We've got kids playing down there, and they are the future of the sport. And if it's going to go anywhere, that's what you've got to breed. You got to put all your eggs in one basket with them, and bring them through, and encourage them to play the game. How the game's changing. Even though some of us don't like it as an older end, but. You've got to look at the bigger picture.
It's interesting because obviously I'm speaking to you. We're having a launch day for the Lions Open Age, going to Australia come the end of the season. Hopefully you make that final squad. Come the season's end. But with my involvement in the Lions, I was also with the under-19s yesterday, and they were doing tackling practices. Yeah. Obviously, with how this has come in, and saying about lowering the point of contact and that. So it's interesting hearing about you saying about how much time have you actually had to spend on doing that. Because with all due respect, you're asking lads like yourself who've been playing rugby league, tackling a certain way for so many years, and suddenly you've got to change things. It's like muscle memory. Isn't it?
Of course it is, and I bang on about the muscle memory. Because it is a drastic change, and what's happened is with the Challenge Cup being sort of the old rules, we've had to make that. We have been training it, because I said to the boys and to the coaches that it's easier to revert back to something that you were used to rather than trying to implement it after that. So train on under the armpit, and then. In the referee's not pulling that, go for lever in these Challenge Cup games and do your best. But we have got to remember that the rules are going to change, and whether we adapt to it or not is a different thing. But yesterday, massive raps to our middles. We ended up with one sub, and they just dug in for one another. The whole team did, but yeah, it were massive raps.
Are they sometimes the more satisfying wins when it's like that?
Yeah, they are, because you have to go where you haven't been before. You've got to dig deep, and just encourage one another and be there for your man. And that also comes off the field, having that rapport with each other, having that time together, and yeah, it's massive down at Hunslet for that, sticking together, being as one. And yeah, that's how we.
And you've already touched on it as well. You're there to be knocked off your perch, aren't you? Because you are the dominant. You've been the dominant force ever since you blasted through all the national Conference League divisions, really, haven't you?
Yeah, absolutely. And we know we're there to get knocked down a peg or two, but the culture that we have down there, it is hard for people to try and do that, And we won't take a backward step as a team. We're always on the front foot. We're always wanting to learn. We're always encouraging one another, and yeah, that's due to our success is just buying into each and everyone's philosophies. Not just going by one person. This is what we're going to do. We listen to everyone's, and we all have an input, and that's how we roll.
Moving on to yourself, because obviously I've sort of seen you on team sheets right the way down through the years, representative honours. Yeah. I don't want to blow smoke up your backside, but you've had a damn good career, haven't you?
Yeah.
Take us a little bit through it,
Absolutely. I've been very fortunate, to go on some of these tours with Barla, and now with the training squad with the Lions. Yeah, I've been Australia, South Africa twice, Australia twice, sorry. Went to Ukraine.
Bet that were an experience.
Yeah, one to probably forget as well, but yeah, it has. I've had a real good career, and I'm happy with the opportunities that I've had, and thankful to the coaches throughout the years at every level that I've played at, and hopefully I'm on one last hurrah and start looking at a bit of coaching, I think.
Well, hopefully, it's not the last time I get to speak to you over the course of the year, but I wish you the best for this season. One thing I will say though is that, you Unsplit boys, you've got an eye, you've got this thing of like saying, I'm going to retire, and yet you don't, because I've had this from Fieldsy over the last couple of years. I've had it from, Andy Banjola, and yet they're both still pulling on the boots.
No, absolutely. I think we've got some good youthful kids coming through, and I don't want to feel like I'm stopping them. But I think if I were to successfully get on this tour, it'd be a good song to go out on, and give back. Then I can take a step back, go into the coaching, and hopefully give my input in on the other side of the white line. So I'm looking forward to it, but I don't know how I'll go.
Cheers, Danny.
No worries, thank
you so much.
Cheers, right. Good on you.
Rugby League's secret weapon, Green Cooling, scores with the 13 Pro-Am Community Rugby League Show.
How good was that to hear Danny Rouse there?
Great bloke. And do you know what I like about him there, was what he was saying about the kids coming through and giving back, etc. When he's giving back, he can stand there in a strong position and say, look, if you shape yourselves, if you do a good job here, these are the things you can do. You can go to Australia, you can go to South Africa, you can go to Ukraine, you can go, there's always those chances and opportunities. And do you know why? Because I'm the living proof. I've done that, but it's going to take hard work and graft to do it. But those are the type of guys you need doing the coaching. Moving on,
I did have to
lovely bloke.
I did have to ask him though, because he mentioned about going out and finishing.
Yeah.
And yet, again, I'm looking at the team sheet from last week, and there's a certain Jamie Fields and a certain Andy Ullock that are on that team sheet.
Jamie Fields, I don't know. More comebacks than Frank Sinatra.
But you can see why Hunslet have been so successful over a good number of years when we talk about those three blokes who have been through it all with them, and they're all good men, they're all guys that want to give back, and I loved what he was saying there about them going all coaching the younger age groups. You've spoke about this from a professional point of view, haven't you? And said that players at professional clubs should come out and give to the community.
I've always said that. At the end of the day, I think that it should be written into players' contracts that wherever you are, you should be assigned local community clubs that you have to go to, and you have to tell them, the good and the bad, in the sense of, this is what it took me to get to this position. Then the people the lads are getting and the girls are getting the reality of the job, in the sense of what are the good things, what can I achieve? If I work hard, what can I achieve?
And just think though, these lads are doing it off the back of a registration email.
I've got to say, just listen to what he was saying there with regards to how they structure the rugby, where those higher teams all played the same way. I mean, that is very much in the line as your football teams, your top football teams play. Whoever's in your academy or lower plays and trains exactly the same way as your first team, and that sounds exactly the way they're doing things. So when they step in or step up out and or in, then it's not, in the words of Frank Sinatra, in the words of Tom Jones, it's not unusual then, is it?
Hang on, Frank Sinatra, Tom Jones, how many more?
We're going to charge the fortune tonight for this.
How many more singers are you going to, do the links for?
I've got to say, show me the money, can't get these artists.
Yeah, but what what I was going to add as well is that, do you think Siddle will be counting too many broken hearts? See, I've had to take that to a whole new level. Sorry about that.
Not whole new low level.
as we mentioned before, though, with regards to Oral St James being on for a three-peat, Hunslet are on for a three-peat this year, aren't they?
Yeah. Got to say though, that's whether it was the weather or whether I don't know with regards to that result. I'm going to give Siddle the benefits of the doubt.
Sounds like a fine game, that though.
Yeah,
really close, tight tussle. The sort of arm wrestle game where you're thinking, wow. High intensity.
Yeah, very, very much so.
Now, we've already spoken at length about the game that we were at involving Crosfields and Skirlaugh.
Just 1 point on that, Parker, because obviously we spoke mainly about Crosfields there, and Skirlaugh obviously were on the wrong end of the ledger. But I've got to say, I think Skirlaugh, a young side, and I think when the tracks dry up, I'm getting nice firm pitches and get into summer, they're going to be a team to be feared because you can tell they've got some pacey lads and good thinkers as well.
And also the 2 young halfbacks I thought went particularly well for them.
Yeah. I've got to say, again, it's just one of those benchmarks. That's how we played. That's what the weather was like. Okay, that's gone. Let's move on. And I feel that as the weather get warmer and the tracks get firmer, Skirlaugh will, upset a couple, I think.
So elsewhere in Division 1, there was a last-minute try from Jake Butterfield, and that was all that separated promoted sides Dewsbury Moor and Waterhead, with Moor winning by 8 points to 4. I've seen a video of this try, and it had got that bad where I'm glad we weren't commentating because you could not tell who was who. You could not tell who was who. They were just caked head to toe in mud. But it ended up being a good try scored in the corner by Butterfield. Really, really close one, that. Ince Rosebridge, well, they toughed out a 14 points to 6 win at Stanley, and a late penalty goal from Brad Smith saw Wigan St Pat's come out on top 22-20 at Leigh Miners Rangers. Woolston also managed to hold on to a 20 points to 16 win against Ulton Raiders. 2 big results there, in particular for Ince Rosebridge at Stanley, with certainly some people reckoning that Ince Rosebridge might struggle this year.
That's right.
I think that they've already stuck that piece on the wall that we discussed last week.
Totally agree with you, because we went to Stanley and we saw how they played. Up against Rothbrow, they played well, and they were at home. It's a lovely ground there, great support, and that's a good win there.
Division 2, well, that saw a plethora of close games. Yes, I've managed to fit that word in this week. Dewsbury Celtic beat promoted Oldham St Anne's by 14 points to 4, and Alhambra Rangers, who were playing their first game in this section, they defeated Barrow Island by 12 points to 10. Elsewhere, Normanton Knights collected a 25-16 away win at Myton Warriors, while Wigan St Jude's edged Millen by 14 points to 12, and Shawcross Sharks, they had a winning opening, of course they did, I wasn't there, against Saddleworth. Drier conditions at Pilkington Rex suited rejuvenated Thornhill Trojans, who won by 34 points to 18. Now, just out of interest, Shawcross Sharks, they won by 18 points to 4, by the way, up against Saddleworth. Some cracking games there.
Yeah, Shawcross Sharks. Coach is...
Yes, the coach is Paul March, who's just been revealed as a new assistant coach at Dewsbury Rams.
Dewsbury, yeah, I saw that today, yeah.
I've not managed to speak to him yet, you know, so I bet if he's listening to this, he'll end up swearing at us, you know, because I don't know whether he's continuing in that role.
Yeah.
We'll endeavour to find out for next week.
I think he's actually tweeted to say, Parky, stay away from Dewsbury.
Yeah, well, I know I've already got that, so I've already been given the Gypsies warning, to be honest, yeah. But what that will mean is it'll mean also that Thornhill will have a cracking season as well if I've got banned from Dewsbury, won't it?
Yeah, true, yeah.
And yet, what a great win this. Now, the man who was key to that victory, by all accounts, was a certain number 7 called Joel Gibson. He's a guy that is trialling for the England Community Lions also to get on the Open Age Tour. I caught up with him on Sunday, and this is our conversation.
I'm really pleased to be joined by Joel Gibson, Thornhill Trojans, and I've got to say, you're back at the place where you started your season yesterday with a massive win. How was it for the team?
For us yesterday, obviously you don't win the league in your first game, but to get off to a good start against a good team, I think it'll stand us in good stead coming up with this season in Division 2, yeah.
Now I'm quite lucky because I do get the team sheets, and I noticed that a certain Joel Gibson did quite a bit in that game.
I always go out there to try and do as much as possible. So yeah, I just love helping the team out and trying to stay on field for 80 minutes, mate.
Yeah, and well, give us a bit of a flavour, because unfortunately, you know, at Thornhill, you've had your ups and downs over the last few years, it would be fair to say, wouldn't it? You know,
yeah.
So give us a flavour of how things are sort of developing now.
So yeah, if you cast your mind back to when we were in Prem, we were losing more experienced players coming to the end of their playing careers, so we had to adapt to that. And obviously going into Division 1 last year, it happened again where a couple of our more experienced players were finishing. And yeah, I think this year obviously no one wants to get relegated, but I think we found ourselves in quite a level league for us, with a lot of young ones coming through. So going forward, we're just trying to transition by bringing youth through, trying to make it that we've got a good batch of experience but also a good batch of young ones to be able to complement each other. And I think the coaching staff have done really well with that.
Bit of a loaded question this. Where do you see yourself now? A more experienced player or one at young uns?
Oh mate, I'm nearly a fossil to some of them. I've been playing longer than some of them have been alive, so I'm very experienced, let's say, in that respect. Yeah, but I'm really enjoying it, and I probably feel in my head as young as I ever have.
I mean, to be fair, you know, despite the form on the field, you've always been near to things like honours. I think, was it last year you got named as one of the nominations for Player of the Year for a club that's relegated? That doesn't happen very often.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, so conference nomination for Player of the Year in Division 1, which for me, I was really proud of the club, but also myself. I felt obviously the season didn't go out we wanted it to, but to still be able to come away with a bit of an accolade like that were a really good thing for me personally, yeah, to take out of it.
And it's a fair play to yourself as well, because it'd be easy just to sort of like pack up shop while the players are packing in and stuff like that, but you've stuck with it.
Yeah, I probably owe that to my dad a lot. He obviously played rugby himself, really good player. He's always drilled into me to just have a positive mindset on things, and you know, shit times don't last. You know, you'll get over them. Every team goes through them. So yeah, being able to just stick around and push the positivity as much as possible, I think that helped us, and it helped me massively. So yeah.
So I know it's only one game, but it sounds like there's positivity galore in comparison to the last couple of years.
Yeah, so going into our first game yesterday is probably the best we've felt as a team for 3 years now, and you could tell, you know, the build-up during the week. It was just all positive, whereas we weren't scratching around to see who was going to play where and who was going to do what. We knew our roles, we knew our positions, and we went in with a game plan, stuck to it and executed it, and come out with a really good win.
And what about some of the newer lads that have come into the squad? What can you say about them?
Yeah, so we had 3 on debut yesterday who individually have all brought their own little stamp on things. 2 forwards and a back who can always mix it up, also mix it up in middle as well. But yeah, just it's new faces, and they've really bedded into the ethos of our club. We like to play tough. Obviously, they wanted to play tough against us yesterday, and we matched that. And I think with them, a couple of young boys, we're looking like we're going in the right direction again. Yeah.
I don't mean to ask a loaded question, but yesterday was the first time when the new interpretation of the lower tackling and stuff like that. How did that impact the game at all?
No, so I've always tried to speak to the referee before the game kicks off and ask what he's looking for in obviously the new tackle line and stuff, and we've tried to adapt it in our training. You know, we're amateurs, we work all week and then train, so it's it's not going to be as smooth as what the transition for Super League is, but he got a really good referee yesterday. I thought he handled everything really well, and it was quite a well-flowed game. There were a couple, but there were no malicious ones where a swinging arm or not. So yeah, I think these laws will obviously upset a lot of people for a lot of weeks, but you know, we'll do our best to try and not get caught out with them personally, yeah.
Certainly from my point of view, in getting to the games that I've got to, I get the feeling that referees, they want to work with players as well. They don't want to be brandishing cards if they can help it.
Yeah, I think there's probably a bit of a shortage of referees around the amateur game at the minute, so the last thing they want to do is come on the right horse and try be it's my way or highway. The one yesterday, he was a young one, but he spoke to me with a lot of respect, so he got a lot of respect from me back and my teammates. So yeah, that's how I'd like to be refereed throughout the year personally. So
and Joe, just finally, because the room has deserted us, hasn't it? We've been here today. The open age first sort of like, how do we describe it? Induction day, I suppose, isn't it? For open age Lions, potential of a trip to Australia come the end of the season. I mean, just wow. How do you feel about that? First of all, getting in this squad.
Yeah, it's massive for me. And my family, really. I always spoke to my dad when he come back off tours representing country, and said it was a dream of mine to be able to represent my country one day. So to get to do it now, where I feel that probably at the back end of my career, hopefully I get selected for the 22-man squad going, and I get to pull on an England shirt, and I feel like I've achieved what I wanted to achieve in my career at that point.
And is this where I show my complete ignorance, because I'm going to ask you who your dad is?
Well, yeah, probably one of only a few people who asked me who my dad is. My dad's Carl Gibson, obviously representing GB, played for Leeds, played for Fev, played for Batley. Really good career in rugby league, and yeah, an hero of mine, a legend at game to a lot of people. I
mean, you've got some great genes there for starters, haven't you, pal?
Yeah, well, hopefully not his actual genes, because he's got shit dress sense, but no, yeah, he's passed on quite a few of his good physical attributes to me, so I'm happy with that.
And this is probably because I remember your dad playing, so that's, I'm aging myself now, aren't I?
yeah. Oh, he's not a spring chicken anymore, like, he's wrong side of 60, isn't he? So, yeah.
Well, cheers, all the best. I look forward to tracking how you go in, and let's hope that it's the start of Thornhill getting back towards the top.
I hope so, mate, and hopefully, like I said, what we've put in place at the club now, we're on the right track.
Every tackle, every try, every scrum. Green Cooling is proud to be part of the Community Rugby League family.
Oh, I tell you what, another top fella to interview. Really enjoyed that chat with Joel.
That was absolutely superb. Do you know what, these guys are, well, the other thing is, we've spoke about this before, trying to get people to buy into what we're doing with this programme. Obviously, we're doing the commentaries and stuff now. It's been an eye-opener. I suppose we were a little bit sort of apprehensive. Would it work? Wouldn't it work? For me, everybody we spoke to, you spoke to from interviews point of view, and everybody we spoke to when we're doing the commentaries point of view. And I don't just mean doing the commentaries, I mean actually being able to facilitate us being to be there and having accessibility to people and things. Everybody's been top drawer, haven't they?
I will also say as well, I think it helps because as part of this induction day, all the staff had to stand up in front of everybody and say what they did on the programme and how they were. So Muggins here stood up and did a little presentation piece. Didn't last very long, I have to say that, but I think it gave a little bit more of a flavour, because I mentioned as well about doing this show, doing stuff with the National Conference League, being involved with the Lions programme since 2019, and the fact that Rugby League has been there through some of my darkest hours, some of my, terrible times, and it's been the constant. And for me, and particularly for the community game, I don't think enough people talk about it, and that's what we want to do. Yeah. And being able to speak to people like Danny, being able to speak to, people like Rob, being able to speak to people like Elliot, and everybody else, that we get to speak to, Dave Crow with the way that he was in his interview as well. Yeah. It's that sort of unfiltered access, which I love. And there might be the occasional profanity which gets through, but hey, these are good people playing the toughest of sports in the toughest of arenas, doing the very best for their local sides and being so involved. And what I loved with that as well is that I didn't realise, I got the feeling as he was talking, I thought, he's mentioning his dad a couple of times in this interview. Because he said he really looked up to him. And I was thinking, he was going to say something like, my dad played 20 years at Thornhill. Yeah. So when he said it's Carl Gibson, I remember Carl Gibson. Yeah. I remember him being a really good player at Leeds.
He was quick.
He was loved at Batley. Yeah. And then finished his professional days over at Featherstone, I think. But absolutely fantastic to speak to Joel, and great to hear that Thornhill, after a few ups and downs, it would be fair to say, you know, they've suffered consecutive relegations. They look like they've got their house in order, and they look like they're going to move forward, don't they?
Yeah, and this was one that we highlighted last week because of it was the two teams that have had consecutive relegations. Pilkington's obviously they're on the tough end of a Thornhill performance, but we were speaking to Eddie, who obviously follows Pilks home and away relentlessly. And he pointed out, Joel, didn't he? He said they've got a guy there who just absolutely wowed and run things. And you said, oh yeah, that's Joel Gibson. He said I just want to watch it. And I know Eddie was in awe of what he was doing. And give Eddie his due when he watches games. If he sees good players on the opposition side, he's quick to shout about the merits.
Oh, he's very even-handed, isn't he, our Eddie? Very even-handed indeed. But yes, so a great start to the season for Pilkington Rex. So that just means that we've got to talk about Division 3. And, well, let's be fair, there was a winning start to NCL life for Dissington in Division 3. But get this, it was just 6-0 at Hensingham. And this try came after 5 minutes. Whoa. Nicky Cook scoring it. It was converted. He'll go down in history as scoring the first try in the National Conference League for Dissington. But 6-0. That's a tight game, that, isn't it? And East Leeds, we were wondering how they were going to go. I think they're in for another good season because I've had a look at that team sheet, and it's all those lads which played at the back end of last season when they started to string the victories together. They defeated Milford comfortably in the derby, 38 points to 4. And lastly, there was an even more convincing victory for Leigh East, who swept aside Featherstone Lions by 74 points to 0. One of the stars of the show was Kieran Prescott. Now, Kieran is also trialling and training in the extended squad for the Lions Open Age. So I caught up with him on Sunday and I asked him about the game.
Okay, with Kieran Prescott. Kieran, NCL's up and running, and 1 game in, 1 game won, and a hat-trick already.
Yeah, not bad, is it?
What was that like yesterday?
It was a bit of a weird one. I know Fev Lions last year, they had a bit of a tough year, and coming into this year they've got quite a raw team, quite a few young lads, but from a Lee's point of view, we just stuck to our structure in the first half, played some really nice rugby, scored some good tries, and once the game got away from them, it was turned into a bit of a training game for us. We just practiced what we do in training. And yeah, look good, and it's a positive start to the season. Look forward to it.
Yeah, I was going to say, because on I don't want to labour the point of last year, but you got to the final game of the season and unfortunately, didn't get promoted come the end of it, which is galling really when you put 12 months of solid effort in, isn't it? But are you using that to sort of fire you forward?
Well, yeah, but from my point of view, I didn't play in that final, so I want to make up for that and help the lads. And I want to be there this year, hopefully, in that final again. Maybe not even in the final, I want automatic promotion, and so do all the lads. So, yeah, and especially Coach Dogger, he doesn't want that final. We want to get our automatic promotion.
So the mood around East is, one of confidence, really.
Yeah, it is definitely. Like I said yesterday, it's a good win, and we're just hoping to kick on, keep going. Hopefully, we've got a few new faces. Hopefully, they stick around, and yeah, we can keep carrying on.
Tell us a little bit about the new faces, because I notice I get the team sheets, and obviously it's changed a little bit since my involvement in East, hasn't it?
We've obviously lost 2 of our good middles in Adam Wilkes and Louis Elts. They've gone to North Wales, but we've gained a few new young lads who've come in. We've also gained a lad called Kian, played at St Helens Academy, good lad. Unfortunately got injured yesterday, but yeah, he played really well, and it's nice seeing new faces around. It's what we needed.
And also as well, with East now, I suppose the youth is starting to catch up again now, isn't it? And there's more players that are starting to come through again.
Yeah, definitely. I think starting last year, we were at my age, I'm 22 now, was the last 18s we came through. But apart from that, we didn't have anything until now, and it's good. Hopefully we can just keep doing that. All age groups can just keep carrying on, and we can have good lads coming through. So
now, it's nice getting the chance to have a chat with you from an England point of view. I know this is like a bit of a new experience for you. We've had like the presentations, even I stood up and did a couple of minutes, which was a little bit nerve-wracking for myself. From your point of view, you happy to be here?
Oh, 100%. It's a great honour to be called up. Not just representing myself and my family, but representing the club where I grew up, played all my rugby all my life, and I just want to do everyone proud.
And call me ignorant here, I never realised your family connection with East, and the fact that if we trace the lineage, it basically traces the history of the club, doesn't it?
Yeah. My granddad founded Leigh East, so like I said, it's a great honour playing for him, representing Leigh East here with England as well. So that is my life is based around Leigh East. So my dad, all my family come from Leigh, so it's a big achievement.
Well, Kieran, undoubtedly, the last time we'll be having a natter this year, hopefully. All the best for the next few games ahead, and hopefully, like you say, it all comes to fruition come the end of the season.
Yeah, thank you, mate. I'll see you.
13 Pro-Am Community Rugby League Show. We talk because we care.
We definitely do care, and that was Kieran Prescott, and I'm just loving all the little connections that we get. So in the course of this show, we've learned about a famous dad. We've learned that Danny Rouse is planning to retire at the end of the season, and we've learned that Kieran Prescott's lineage in his family dates back to setting Leigh East up.
Welcome to Rugby League. Who do you think you are?
You was dying to get a show like that together, weren't you? You was like, there's all these links. Absolutely fantastic. He was mentioning about a lad called Cian who was joining Leigh East, and I'm thinking that it's Cian Naylor scored a try at the weekend. Also as well, another name that I'm not used to seeing on the Leigh East team sheet, a lad called Matty Aspinall. 1 try and 11 goals, by the way, from him.
Good kicking, that.
Very good kicking. But fascinating battle, I'm sure. And it sounds like the club are very positive, pretty confident about going one better this year and making the making automatic promotion.
Yeah. And I must admit that I suppose that's the belief that you require, isn't it? That you can achieve that. That's what your goal should be.
I mean, they were only 2 points short of getting automatically promoted last season. If you remember how close the top 4 was in Division 3,
it was one of those where
between any of them, was there?
And it was one of those where you lose a couple of games and then suddenly you're struggling at the lower end of the table, and then string a few games together. That momentum that we always talk about takes you up there, and it always gets, all these divisions have some really, really good, tight movements within the league as it moves through the season.
So, next weekend, this sees the official opening of Bentley's new clubhouse when they host Hensingham in Division 3. That is our commentary game this coming Saturday, isn't it? I can't believe that we're getting invited to a club opening.
I tell you what, you get in my van, it's like Paddy and Max on tour. So all the gear in the back and off we go. We're looking forward to it, I must admit.
I'm not telling anybody about your racks of Big Bob's beans.
Big Bob's beans, don't mention that.
But we're really looking forward to getting down there, aren't we? And a little bit earlier in the week, I caught up with Beverley chairman Pete Weiner. We had a great conversation all about this new clubhouse and all about the forthcoming game. Let's listen to it right now. Okay, we've reached that part of the show where we're introducing guests once more, and I'm delighted on the other end of the line. I'm joined by Pete Weiner from the Bentley Club. How are you doing, Pete? You okay?
I'm very good, mate. Thank you. Yourself?
Really good, really good. So a little bit earlier on in the show, we spoke to Dave Crow of Heysham Atoms, and they've recently moved to new facilities, and I'm delighted we're carrying on in that same vein because you've got new facilities that you've really worked so hard to produce, and it's the official opening this coming weekend.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is, Dave. Yeah, we managed to. So yeah, it's been massive. It's been too long in the pipeline for ourselves. We celebrated our 60th anniversary last year, and predominantly we've sort of moved from pub to pub, and we've been an open age side. More recently, over the sort of last 10 years, we've really developed into sort of a real club now with a very strong junior section. It was massive for us and important for us that we had a facility to basically ensure that we could house that, develop it and continue going forward. So yeah, last year, back end of it, we managed to open the facility. We still had some finishing touches, but yeah, on the 9th of March, we're having the official opening, and every single team of every age group will be playing down there for the full season. Can't wait.
That is so exciting, isn't it? You know, so and how many sort of junior sides do you have now at the club?
We've more or less got an age group through every school year now, moving forward, with the exception of the under 14s, who unfortunately we haven't got a team there this year, but we've managed to keep a few of the lads training. We've even got a tots and sort of nursery section as well, so we've got little kids running around with a ball in their hand, not necessarily playing the game, but enjoying a bit of outdoor activity with their friends and having a bit of fun with a ball in their hand, and that can only be a good thing.
And this is no mean feat, is it? You know, it's something that you plan for many years, and the fact that you'll soon be, how do we say this? You know, you'll soon be enjoying the fruits of all that labour, won't you?
Yeah, massively so. And yeah, you're right. I think, to be honest with you, I've been speaking to a lot of the old boys, and in particular some of the original secretary, Bob Fox, of late, while we've been going through this journey. And it's actually been on the card since 1963, where I think every age group, every generation's had a look at it. We just had probably a bit of a rub of the green with the World Cup legacy funding from the RFL, and some real good guys involved with the club who's had that drive and determination to see it over the line. And yeah, it has been, if you forget the fact that obviously every club wants their own place and their own facility, but if you actually just look at the journey we've had from the point of even starting to think about what we've got now, which has been probably 3, 4, maybe even 5 years in the making. It has been a tough push, and we did it all through COVID as well, which made it even harder. So it just makes this facility we've now got even more enjoyable, and it makes everybody, I hope everybody within the club, very proud of what we've achieved. So it's definitely not one of those things where you woke up one Saturday morning and thought, you know what, we're going to have a clubhouse. No, absolutely not. I wish it was as easy as that. I can assure you it weren't, and I think all the other guys who have gone through a similar feat with ourselves, with the funding that you've got to look for, the support of your local, not just your club members, be it players, supporters, parents, but the local community, local businesses. It really has been a big drive all the way down the line, but no, it's been a real slog, but I certainly think it's one that's been well worth it. And now it's going to be something that everybody in the community can be totally proud of, can't they? Yeah, it is, especially where we're based, sort of North Doncaster. It is probably classed as a deprived area. People, even if they just want to move to a community centre, they've got to walk away or drive away from where they live. We have opened it up to the local community. On the day, we've got a local dance school coming in to do a little bit of entertainment for the local people. So yeah, it really is a sort of a community sort of feel. We want to expand that. We're looking at putting bingo nights on for some local community as well. So yeah, whilst it is first and foremost, yeah, it's a rugby club, we do want it to be a community hub, if you like, and a facility that the community can enjoy as a whole. Now, thinking about when you was, like in the drawing up stages of putting a plan like this into action, was there anywhere where you went to and you thought, you know what, that looks like it'll be, what would you want it to look like? Did you get inspiration from various places? Yeah, we got lots of inspiration. A lot of where you go to, though, they're already established. So we probably not actually drawn inspiration from a newly built clubhouse. We had constraints as well. So if I'm honest with you, probably most of it was driven from Sport England specifications. We had to look at what we could afford. We had a budget. So we had to attain to that. So we had lots of ideas of what we wanted to achieve. But what we really went to, we sort of had we've always had this sort of mantra of, look, we want it to be fit for purpose. That was the main thing, just having our own place, and then we could build from there. I'm really pleased to say, though, we also discussed sort of having a platinum, gold and silver standard. With the support we've had in the local community and lots of very generous donations and hard work, I'm really pleased to say I honestly think we've hit the platinum standard within the budget and everything that we've achieved. So, yes, lots of inspiration, but that had to be dealt with and it had to be taken into consideration of the reality of where we were coming out of COVID, building materials going up, labour and everything else. So it really has been a tough exercise, but as I say, one that's been well worth it.
And to be fair, one that you've succeeded in. You mentioned about all those things. We've had a succession of price rises right around the board, haven't we? In everything from raw materials to now being able to heat the place, and it's something not to be dismissed. That, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, to be honest with you, when we started this journey and the initial sort of funding bid went in, we were looking at sort of a value around about $500,000. It came in probably around about maybe 250,000 more than that when it all came in. However, again, I've mentioned a few times about local people and local businesses really supporting us. It was unbelievable, the donation of materials we've had from people within the club who work for building suppliers, manufacturers who have really helped us out with donations, with big discounts, and even local labour and sort of some of the contractors we've had on board who, to be honest with you, they held the prices, which is unbelievable, because they taken a hit, all with a view to making sure we got over the line.
I suppose they can see the larger social value that you offer to the community. You've already mentioned, like a lot of rugby league clubs, to be fair, and a lot of teams around the community game. We're hardly pushed for money, are we? Really, we come from areas which are hard to live in and hard living areas, aren't we?
Yeah, absolutely. I mentioned before it's classed as a deprived area, but the people are absolutely grade one. There's some top people, and these businesses, I think when they get involved, it's like when they sponsor a team. We have this conversation all the time. I don't think these people are coming in to help you and support you with the view of, look, do you know what, we're going to make a mint off this, and if we sponsor that team shirt, or if we really help on the costing as they have done with the build, I think they're doing it because they want to put something back. And it means a lot. So, yeah, I think it is that social value that they want to put back into the local area and the sport.
It comes from a genuine point of view as well, isn't it? I mean, I would like to think that, as a podcast, as with what we're doing over the next sort of like 12 months, that we're coming at it from very much a love of the sport and knowing exactly, how good it's going to be for the local community and particularly for the kids, and giving them somewhere and a focus where they can, I suppose, give their energies to.
Yeah, and to be honest with you, I mean, obviously we've got the first and second team, which we class as the adult section, but the real pleasure comes from watching all these kids who, to be honest, before they started playing with us, most of them had never picked a rugby ball up. We've got two girls teams now, just watching them lot run around, enjoy playing the game, but then enjoy the social aspect afterwards as well. It is massive, but probably one of the biggest things, and I think where we're going to really reap the rewards is seeing these kids come through, progressing through age. And as we started seeing last year, we had a real tough start to our NCL season, and sort of halfway through, we saw some of the younger guys coming through from the sort of under 16s as they were old enough to then start playing adult rugby, and the second team players moving up, and we saw that come through, and it really gave us an impetus moving forward, and we finished the season strongly. So it shows what's coming, which is great.
And to be fair as well, you've come from a background as a club of playing in the Yorkshire Men's League, toughing it out there, being a very, very, very good side. But as you've mentioned, moving into the National Conference League, there's got to be more than just those two teams, hasn't there?
Oh yeah, massively. The amount of travelling, the commitment, the way that the NCL's structured, absolutely. I think if we went in with a bare squad of 20 odd, we need that pipeline coming through. That's the bottom line. It really is. It's a big ask for the lads. They have to play through the summer. So, yeah, the NCL, we've definitely noticed a step up in not just the standard, but all those the structure and the commitment you have to put towards it. It's a big ask.
So you had your soft opening last year, and obviously it sounds like you've got massive potential now moving forward. How much work have you had to put into for this opening day? Because you've got a guest list as long as your arm, haven't you, turning up?
Yeah, we have, and I think that's just a reflection of the amount of people who've been involved in helping us to get to where we are. But yeah, so you mentioned the sort of soft open. We finished our season off. We were determined that we wanted to get some rugby played last year. We'd been our 60th anniversary. Mm-hmm. We wanted to get the adults playing, and we wanted to let the junior section and all the kids finish their season there, because we'd all been playing from different venues. So we wanted to sort of mark the 60th anniversary with some rugby being played from there. We also wanted to get a feel for things. The second part of your question, the amount of effort that's going into this opening, yeah, it's been big. I mean, even since we opened it, we've finished the changing rooms now. There's been additional works done in and around the grounds to make that more accessible for people. Because you live and learn, sort of making sure wheelchair and disabled access has been massively improved. Yeah. Access down onto the pitch has been massively improved. The changing rooms are now finished. We've redecorated, we've improved, we've learned, look, this is a bit more maintenance in this area than we expected, so we've put things right there. And yeah, just making sure that when we turn up and when you guys turn up next week, we can be proud of what we've done, and people look around and think this is what can be achieved when you get a set of individuals who put their hearts and their minds into things and pull together. So, and it's still ongoing as well, Dave. I think we'll be at it until the 11th hour on the 9th.
I'm confident in what I've heard from you, Pete. You know that when we look at it going forward, it's going to be transformational, isn't it, for the club? Because there was a point that you made there about bringing everybody under one roof, or if you like, or you know, playing at one facility rather than being separated and maybe dotted around.
Yeah, massively. I mean, if you look in the last 2 years while we've been building, and that's probably how long this has been going on for, because I've mentioned before COVID and everything else, it really has. We have been very split as a club. We've been together as a club, but split as a club. So when you've got the juniors and the adults playing from different places, socialising and doing the presentations in different places after a game for the juniors, a lot of this starting this season, it's going to be the first time, certainly from a junior perspective, that they're going to be playing under one roof, and it'll be a brand new experience for them. And to be fair, what we're already seeing when we've had club events sort of over the off season, you can just see how that's going to bring each individual team on as they start watching more of the older guys, for example, and the parents start mixing a little bit more. You can see friendships and proper bonds growing as a point. And we can have some games kicking up at 9:30 in the morning, and rather than them all leave straight after their kick-off and off they go and finish the day, they'll go and watch the other sides play. I've seen some people there, they kick off at 9:30 in the morning. If the first team's play, they're still there at 5, 6 on the night. It's fantastic.
That's the benefit you guys in Yorkshire have over us over in Lancashire, because you play a lot of your junior rugby on a Saturday, don't you, as opposed to Sunday mornings, which seems to be a done thing for some reason over on this part of the Pennines.
Well, I'd like to think we've got a few more things over you guys in Lancashire, mate, but we won't go into that. We'll move quickly on.
Maybe you will come the end of the season. Yeah. I'm wondering what your thoughts are generally about, you know, the competition this year, because I mean it was a cracking division looking in from afar last season.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's only going to be harder this year, if I'm honest with you. If you look at sort of the teams who have come down, we've got Fev now, where Leeds East have come back down again. They're going to be real sort of tough opposition. You look at Hensingham. Hensingham, I think, have just improved. They had a really sort of quite a strong finish to the season. We've been keeping an eye on them in pre-season, and they seem to have had a good, strong start to pre-season. And we've always said in this league, even though when I mentioned earlier we had a tough start, there's very few Tonkins, there's very few teams who are sort of getting drubbed. Every game's tight, it's nip and tuck. So it's a very, very competitive league without a shadow of a doubt. And on the day, I think the bottom team can beat the top team. It really is competitive.
I think it certainly showed that on a couple of occasions. And of course, you've got Dissington coming in as well this year, another Cumbrian team, another long trip. But I know those long trips, they're always appreciated by everybody coming home, aren't they, if you've won?
Yeah, we've got a few tales to tell with the trips coming home, but to be fair, win, lose or draw, Dave, I think they're always, listen, as we all know, it's always nicer coming home on any trip, and your beer always tastes better when you've had a win, but that's been brand new. Going over to Cumbria, it's been a tough ask because it takes a lot of getting used to, and I take my hats off to the Cumbrian side because they have a lot more travelling than us. But what I would say, when you go over there, you're meant to feel welcome. Most of the teams put sort of there's a singer on sort of before you leave, and they make an effort out of it, and it's something we're going to take into it this season. We're going to look to do something different. You've got to learn off what other people do, but yeah, with this thing coming in, it's going to be that'll be another tough challenge. I think anybody knows when you're travelling over to Cumbria, you're never going to get an easy ride of things. It's always going to be a tough one, but it's worth it for the bus trips back.
Pete, thank you so much for taking this time out to give us a bit of a flavour of just what it's been like putting such a mammoth undertaking into action, and I can't wait to be coming down and sort of sampling your hospitality and sort of having a look around myself. I think it's tremendous, and it sounds like it's gonna go on and really make you as a club.
Yeah, I think so, mate. And we can't. We're looking forward to hosting you, mate. And we'll make sure we give you a tour around as well, so you can see it. And we really hope you enjoy the day and you enjoy the game as well.
Every tackle, every try, every scrum. Green Cooling is proud to be part of the Community Rugby League family.
You know how I love rugby league coincidences and how things link up, and there's definitely some link up in this show, isn't there? Yeah. Because there were some things that Pete was talking about which was similar to what Dave was talking about earlier with Hisham Atoms, and I love the fact that they got World Cup legacy funding. So we was wondering, what was the legacy of that last World Cup?
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you what, we're going to see it on Saturday, aren't we?
That's right, yeah. We're going to see it on Saturday, and we've seen it with other areas as well. And this is what we're on about, Parker. We talk about these clubs and we rave about these clubs, but we do it because
we care. It says it on our jingle.
Yeah, but the bottom line, we do it because these people don't get the coverage that they need and deserve. And you're talking to do these things that these guys have done. If you stepped outside of that from a rugby point of view, and you were going, you had to do a project of putting a club together, a business, etc., and you had to do that. I mean, unless you've got the project management skills to do that, that is very, very difficult. And you've got to take your hats off to these guys who are doing this. And like they said, all the various companies that give their support, whether it be with time, with their staff, whether it be materials, whether it be donations. And we've seen that time and time again with these various clubs that have done this. And this is why, more people, and I mean higher than us, should be talking and giving these people, these clubs the benefit and this is what we do. It's not just about the rugby. It's we're putting this in place for the community. It can be used for lots of other things. And, I bang on about youth clubs time and time and time again. And they're putting a thing in place here now. They've put which will be, basically, it'll be a youth club and it will be there for older generations as well to come in and use. It's a facility. But that shouldn't be down to just these people, should it, at the end of the day? I mean, hats off to them. They're doing an absolutely wonderful job without major support from the areas they should be getting the support.
I want to run something by you then, because obviously, we're very topical on this show, because not only have I mentioned the miners' strike already, but I'm going to mention the budget. So obviously we've had Jeremy Hunt stood there with his big red suitcase, bleating on about how much he's taking out of our pockets and giving it to us in another way, or taking out in some other way. But, this is where we hear things about, levies and taxes and things like that. I'm going to suggest something here. I'm just sort of wondering what your sort of thoughts are. So this is where I'm at risk of being Parky outspoken. I reckon that Super League and Rugby League Commercial is bringing a lot of the money into the game, aren't they? How much of that is levied back to the community game? How much of that is assigned to, for use, and I mean proper use in the community game, for funding things like this, which has happened? We've heard about different clubhouses that need to get built. We've heard about football foundations and stuff like that. Don't get me wrong, I know that that's another pot of money and something very different. But we have this... Well, I know everybody's after money, and I know but I think that we've got to look a lot further. We can't just look past the end of our noses anymore. We've got a sport that could thrive and really survive and really push on, and it engages youths, it engages people. It's there for people. I'd like to see, and I want to put it to these Super League clubs, to put the money where the mouth is. So they quite often tick boxes and go out there and they go and use facilities. Clubs bend over backwards because they understand about the facility use. They understand about what being connected with such clubs might have. But I think it should be about far more than that. And this for me is about clubs giving back and actually having something financial, because let's be honest, with social value, you are going to get far more social value in rugby league by £1 that's put into a community club than putting £1 into St Helens, Wigan, Leigh.
Yeah, I can't say anything against that, Parky. I talk, my thoughts on this from clubs. Majority of clubs, certainly Super League clubs, have community sections. But how joined up is that community section with the rest of the club? I mean, don't get me wrong, that community section, whether it be Wigan, whether it be Saints, whether it be Warrington, etc., they go out and do very good jobs. But how close is that linked to the Super League side of the club? I mean, I would argue, in a lot of cases, it's not.
And we've heard that some clubs are paying 50, 60, 70,000 pounds a year just to rent their facilities, and so as they can just stick their heads above water. Imagine if that was coming from the Super League pot.
Yeah.
It's one player. It's one player's wage or two players' wages that we're talking about.
It's not just the clubs as well, Parky. I mean, the way I look at it, a lot of these facilities that do more than support just rugby league, and I think the government could do more to help these places. I mean, whether it be our sports, whether it be soccer, whether it be others, a lot of these things are built up and used and don't get much said about them. Yeah, I was listening to the news the other day about a lady who had lost a son to knife crime, unfortunately, and she was on and she was asking about there should be more youth clubs, etc.
Okay,
and I totally agree with her. There should be, but what I'm saying is, if you've not got the money to fund that totally, then there should be some recompense to help all these clubs, whether they be our sport or any other sport, if they're putting a facility together that works for the community, that basically is a youth club, I say in inverted commas, because I would say it's a facility that can be used by anybody in the community, then there should be, sort of help and assistance. And I'm sure they would say, oh yeah, but they're entitled to X, Y and Z.
I mean, I will say, and obviously my shot's been mainly at getting, funding and taking funding from the Super League, who, for me, if they're getting Catalans to pay for everything from next season, then there's got to be some money in the pot that isn't getting used, which could be better utilised, in my opinion. And I'm not having a go at Rugby League, because I do know there's a lot of people that work in the departments that they take a kicking every day, to be honest. They probably open their emails and think, why do I bother with this job sometimes? and that's just answering ones to me mainly. But no, I jest. But and I know that there's a lot of information that does get fed back to our community clubs. I know that the channels exist. I know that as soon as they realise that there is funding pots that our community clubs can apply to, they're out there and they're telling them about it. But I just think that more can come from the very top of the sport, and it's this lesser heard thing of trickle down economics for me.
I agree, totally agree, mate. We're sidetracking a little bit here from Bentley's, sort of achievements. They've done absolutely superb, and I'm really, really looking forward to having a look at the facility at the weekend, and obviously getting down on commentating on the game. They're up against Hensingham, who themselves lost just by that 6 points to 0. They'll be thrilled to get off the nil, won't they? They certainly will. Another team with the longest journey. I think we are looking at a lot of these clubs that are sort of doing a lot of miles, aren't we?
Yeah, we are. You'll be able to listen over on our Mixler channel. So I've got the link for that as well. So if you've got a pen, jot this down, or just look on our social media, because we've been pouring it out there over the course of the week. I'll probably retweet it again tomorrow. But it's HTTPS, those 2 dots, a couple of forward slashes, 13 Pro-Am Community RL Mixler.com /events /3224771. So that's important, your 3224771. You click on that now and it says Saturday, and it'll start counting down, to that time, and that's when we get rather nervous and we start having to have like a swig of water before we go on, don't we?
And I'm shouting,
press the live button. Where's the team sheet?
Exactly.
Where's everything? But yeah, like you, I'm really excited for going down to Bentley, seeing what they've got going on there. I know it's been a long time in coming. I know they've put a lot of hard graft in. I know it's certainly something that they did promise that they were getting on with in the background when they were elevated into the National Conference League. And I think it's just going to be a brilliant day. There's going to be rugby league dignitaries there. There's going to be the likes of Carl Hall from Doncaster's going down there as well. I think the local MP's going to be, showing his face, and no doubt there'll be kissing of babies and all sorts going on and what have you. But really, really looking forward to that. And it's one of many games that we can look forward to over this coming weekend, isn't it? So if we look at the fixtures in the Premier Division, Hunslet up against Loch Lane, Kells up against Egremont. That's my pick. Bit of a Cumbrian derby there between those two. Oh, this next one, I'm excited for it already. Rochdale Mayfield up against Siddle, and then 2 fixtures you've picked out as well, Steve.
Yeah, first of all, Tatterweath Crusaders up against Wasbrow Hornets. Obviously we've seen Wasbrow Hornets this season, and we've been down to Tatterweath Crusaders and spoke to the guys there. And I know when these two sides meet, they're always good games, whether it's up at Wasbrow or whether it's at Tatterweath Crusaders. So that will be absolutely superb. The other one, Westall up against West Bowling. Obviously, West Bowling promoted. And as I said last week, I think they're surprise a few people.
I mean, the thing there is West Hull being at home. They don't. Here's the famous last words. They don't lose many at home.
But all I can say, I put a fiver on a team called West winning this game.
I think you might be right.
Yeah,
I think you get even odds for that, to be honest, right? In Division 1, you've picked out a really intriguing fixture here.
Yeah, Clockface Miners against Stanley. I suppose, technically speaking, it's because we covered both of these sides this season from a commentary point of view, so we've seen what they can do. Going to be interesting. I think Clockface at home probably be probably the slight favourites here. But Stanley, we know they've got the players on their side who on the day can turn things around. But yeah, that if we weren't away at covering Bentley against Hensingham, that was one I would like to have gone and watched.
Dewsbury Moor Maroons are up against Crosfields. Ulton Raiders, they're at home to Leigh Miners Rangers. Waterhead Warriors, they're on the road once more, this time going up to Ince Rose Bridge. And you picked out this one as well, so Woolston Rovers, they're travelling over to Hull to take on Skirlaugh.
Yeah, again, having saw Skirlaugh play at the weekend, and as I said, I think on a dry track they'll go well. Woolston obviously coming off the back of a good win at home last weekend, and being promoted and getting that win. That should be an interesting one as well.
Wigan St Pat's, they're hosting Hull Dockers. Dockers currently going with a group of coaches to take their first team. So they've got 4 coaches that are mixing and matching between them. Of how they're going to do, which I'm intrigued by, to be honest. So I'll look forward to seeing the result of that one as well. Division 2, well, that sees Millom take on Pilkington Rex. Myton Warriors with a long trip up to Barrow Island. This next one that you've picked, and it's all the Dewsbury boys.
Yeah, and that was it basically. I mean, obviously we saw Shawcross Sharks last year. Thornhill, having listened to what you were saying and tell me how they've gone this weekend against Pelks as well, there could be, sort of pointing just back in the right direction. So that should be an interesting one, certainly with them being at home as well.
I think this next one's pretty interesting as well. So Allenborough, they got promoted from NCL 3 last year up against Saddleworth. We went there a couple of times at the back end of last season, and good club. Be interesting to see how they go in that one. Normanton Knights seem rejuvenated. They're up against Dewsbury Celtic this coming weekend. And then we've got Wigan St Jude's on the road to Oldham St Anne's, which again looks like one of those lip-smacking fixtures. And Division 3, there's our game, of course, Bentley against Hensingham. Also one to look forward to, Dissington taking on Milford. Bit of a trek there for Milford.
Just going to say exactly the same there.
But a great first home hit out for Dissington, that one. And I bet the crowds will be all packing into the clubhouse there. Driglington, they're hosting Leigh East, and East Leeds have Seaton Rangers coming to town. So we mentioned last week Seaton Rangers have a new coach and a new attitude this season. So we'll see how they go against East Leeds. Obviously, East Leeds still in minus points thanks to the misdemeanours at the end of last season. So will they be able to escape it? And that's your fixtures for this coming weekend. Tell you what a cracking show we've had.
Yeah, it's been absolutely jam-packed full, and it's been great to have all those interviews from the guys from the various matches. Because, as we said before on this programme, if we can get that on a more regular basis, so if you're a media person at a various club and you want to interview your coach or a player after a game, just ask them a few simple questions and you want to send it through, we'll certainly include it. Just to give your game a little bit more flavour as to was just reading out a report, because as you've seen, as Parky's managed to speak to those guys who played in those games, it certainly brings the game to life, and we can bring that to you.
But that's us done and dusted for this week. We'll be back this time next week with our regaling of tales from Bentley. We'll see you then.
Yep, don't forget though, just before we go, you can catch us on iTunes, Spreaker, Spotify, Amazon, iHeartRadio, Google Podcasts, Castbox, Deezer, Podcast Addict, Podchaser, and the majority of other places where you usually get your podcasts from. As Parky said, we'll see you next week.
Every tackle, every try, every scrum. Green Cooling is proud to be part of the Community Rugby League family.